Only one college will be left on this map by the end of the video. And if you've never seen an Imperialism before, I'll explain to you how it's going to go from 134 teams to just one. But just know, if you've never seen all these colleges battled out before, this is about to be the greatest thing that you've ever witnessed. It's pretty simple. I will spin this team wheel to decide which college will be attacking. It is going to be Florida. And then this directional wheel decides where they're headed. It's up north a bit. So that means that our first matchup is the Gators attacking Georgia Southern. Since all the rosters have had an official update, DJ Lagway will be starting for the Gators. And if the Eagles can't defend their home territory, they'll be eliminated. If Florida fails this attack though, they're going to be the team that is wiped off of the map. And I'll be doing this entire process until there's just one team standing. But for now, we have a tight game to open this Imperialism up. Somehow Florida only has a 6-point lead on Georgia Southern and they're moving it down the field. JC French is going to run to the line to spike the ball though. And I'd understand this being close if the Eagles were playing Florida State, but Florida's been a little bit better this year. Luckily for the Gators, they were able to knock that ball out right there, and now they're getting close to getting a sack. The ball was out of his hands though. So here we go. JC French, game on the line, upset on the line, and he throws it straight at him. That's an anticlimactic way to end this first game, but what it means is Florida's attack was successful. So with that result, the Gators get to double the size of their territory, though they better be careful driving on the road because now they're close to Georgia. Back to the wheel we go though. We're going to be doing this throughout this entire video, and I'm so excited for this, especially since the rosters have now been updated. That arrow is going to come pretty close to missing Minnesota, but it just hits them right there. So the Cyclones are going on the attack, and their overall is up to an 87, which definitely got boosted in this update, considering as I'm filming this, they're still undefeated. There's a chance they might fall to the Gophers though, because just like the last game, with about a minute and a half left, it is a 6-point game. But all this really proves is it's very hard to attack a stadium and then take it. Road teams always put up a great fight in this game, because let's just be real, Minnesota's not a great team. I've never even heard their quarterback's name before, Max Browser or something. He has 3 interceptions. I don't know how this is close, but he's gonna hit his tight end, and he's so slow, but he still gets into the end zone. That was an incredible play. It is exactly why we love Imperialism. And now Minnesota has a 1-point lead, but Iowa State has a chance to respond back. There's an upset on the line, but I've watched Rocco Beck come up clutch time and time again this season. He has all the time in the world, but it's like he's facing off against an early 1900s Minnesota football team when they were good. This time he just takes a check down, and they were better off not catching it. By the way, every team's catching strays in this video. I'm a Kentucky fan. I have no room to talk. That pass is not completed. So Iowa State's pretty much lost this game, and they're going to be upset. This is exactly what makes Imperialism so great, though they still have 2 more timeouts, so they technically could get the ball back. The Cyclones are going to have to get a stop on 3rd and 3 right here though, and they do. Minnesota doesn't trust their kicker though. They're going for it on 4th and 3. I don't understand this move at all. What are they thinking? If Iowa State gets in field goal range somehow, that's all they have to do to win this game. I don't know why they would do that. Rocco Beck, it is your time to shine, buddy. You have 14 seconds to save Iowa State, but we have yet to see him complete a single pass, and on 3rd and 10, if he takes a sack, it's all over. Time is going to run out. Minnesota is somehow able to survive, pulling off the upset, and for that touchdown, Jamison Gears definitely deserves player of the game. If there's one thing that's guaranteed about Imperialism, it's the fact that it is always entertaining, and literally any one of these schools on the map could win it all. We have seen some wild results. The number 11 team in the country, an undefeated one's already been knocked out, and this season it's probably best if Purdue sticks to basketball. It's been difficult to watch them play, but they could definitely beat Ball State, because as you can see, the Cardinals have one of the worst defenses in the game. That hasn't stopped the Cardinals from having a lead though. And how many 6-point games in a row are we going to get? We'll see if Purdue can come up clutch, but I feel like right now it's looking pretty likely. They only have to get about 40 more yards in the next minute. This is going to help them move the chains, and getting out of bounds right there was super smart. I told you all though, home field advantage does make a big difference. I think they've even made the effects larger, but it's still too early in this Imperialism to see if the update really changed anything sim-wise. Anyway, this is Hudson Card's moment right here. He has 4 chances to get into the end zone. I doubt they're going to pick up a first down in this spot, especially now, because if you pick up that many yards, you might as well just take it in. Miscommunication and the failure to hook up with his receiver has made it 3rd and 15, though this time he does find somebody. But that is far from enough, and Ball State Stadium is going ballistic. There's something about these MAC schools taking down bigger colleges from Indiana, Notre Dame, you know what I'm talking about, and there it is, that is it. What a moment for the Cardinals. They have pulled it off, and their ability to defend the Boilermakers' attack was special. This has certainly been a pretty chaotic way for Imperialism to open up. We have yet to see a single blowout, but I'm sure they're coming, especially if this wheel landed on my Wildcats. That was scary, but instead it went over to Liberty, who's coming off a loss. And side note, I can't believe they're the team that let 0-6 Kennesaw State get their first FBS win. Anyway, the Flames arrow pointed up north, so they're attacking James Madison, and it does make me sad the Flames lost in real life, because that's one less small school that can make make the playoffs. This might not be where their redemption run starts either, because we have another good game. James Madison is only trailing by 1, and all they have to do from this spot on the field is get into field goal range. You get like 25 yards, you have enough. Their receivers are already talking their trash though, and that might be a little bit premature. We've seen kickers miss all sorts of kicks in these videos. They aren't even in field goal range, and that sack makes it 3rd and 18. Nobody wanted to put hands on that guy. They just let him get in so fast, and I knew it was going to go downhill for James Madison when that receiver was talking trash so soon. It is 4th and 18. This is it right here, and they're actually going to pick it up. Hang on. The question is, will they get up to the line and spike it? Because we all know in this game the time runs pretty quick and they're not going to get it off. The poor Dukes are going to lose because of that, and Liberty would have deserved to lose that game. They even had a safety in the 4th quarter. Even though the Flames overall has gone up from the last update, I don't see any chance that they're going to last long playing like that, but you never know. The wheel could avoid their area of the map for a while. Now we're seeing Kent State, and this is a team that still hasn't won a single game this season. With that arrow forcing them to attack Pitt, there's no way that this goes well, and due to the Panthers' success, it seems like their overall has been bumped up to an 85. The calculations in this game still make 0 sense considering they're an 82 overall in both categories, but it was enough for us to finally have a game that wasn't as close, and it all ends right here. If the Panthers can get Kent State off of the field, their quarterback has nowhere to go. Their defense played really well, only giving up 3 points, and getting this little extra piece of territory right here shouldn't hurt the Panthers too much. What makes their starting spot so difficult though is they have Penn State right next door, and Texas is going on the attack. We'll see if they play better than they did against Georgia. I will say it's going to be challenging for the Longhorns to lose this game. They're attacking the Roadrunners, but we'll see if they're able to have any sort of home field advantage in their dome. Well, even though they seem to have a sold out crowd, 27-6 is not something that you can come back from. They're getting a snap off on this final play. We'll see if they're able to get a little sympathy touchdown, but even that couldn't happen, so this was the final score. I'd still say the Texas offense was struggling though, because if they played the way that they were playing at the beginning of this season, they would have dropped like 50 points in that game. This is what the map of the United States looks like so far, with Iowa State still being the biggest elimination, and that'll probably hold true for a while unless there's some huge upsets coming up. Colorado's been landed on, so this could be where they're challenged, but just looking at most of the teams around them, as long as they're not headed directly west, they should be fine. They've drawn Colorado State, which means we're getting a big rivalry. At least it is if you live in the state of Colorado, but that's about it. Last season it was a great game, but this year the Buffalo players shut up the Colorado State players because they were talking reckless during the offseason. They wouldn't end up winning this one either. It wasn't close. So at least for the time being, Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter are still in this. I'm interested to see how far they're able to carry Colorado, but also how far Ashton Jeanty's able to carry Boise State up here. With this update, he's a 97 overall. He has the best abilities in the game, and we now have Wake Forest attacking to the northeast. It looks like Liberty's getting pretty unlucky so far. They're gonna have to play in their second game already, but this time around they at least get to defend their territory. They definitely did that, winning 38-7, and we went from having a bunch of close games to having a bunch of ones that were never a contest. If you're rooting for Liberty though, this result really isn't that good, because this early into Imperialism they already have 10 teams bordering them. We've seen in the past that not work out very well for certain teams, but now the wheel has landed on Florida State. They're going to be attacking Georgia State, and they're not happy that the updates come through because EA's dropped their offenses overall all the way down to a 78. Currently though, they're the only team at the Division 1 FBS level that hasn't scored more than 21 points in a game all year. So when I flame their offense the same way I did to Iowa's last season, it is very well deserved. The Seminoles are even pulling an Ole Miss here to stop the clock, because after giving up a big play to Georgia State, they wanted to get their defense set. They have a 7-point lead. Anyway, for the salty Florida State fans that leave hate comments because I make jokes about how bad the offense is, just know that only makes me want to do it more. At least their defense is holding it down for them. And I still think I did Iowa's fan base way worse over the last 2 years. On this 4th and 19 though, the Seminoles are giving up a touchdown. We have a ball game. That was the last thing I was expecting. They're grittying on them, and I wish the Panthers had the nuts, the courage to go for the 2-point conversion. But we all understand why they can trust their defense. It is no longer DJ Lungalungalele back there. It is Brock Glenn. He hands the ball off, and that's the star that led them to a 63-3 loss to Georgia. For whatever reason, they are taking this game to overtime, and I find that odd. I think they're still good enough to win it in regulation. So we'll see how this plays out. Is Florida State gonna go out super early or not? If we've learned anything from this season, I think it's that Jordan Travis didn't get enough credit, because this has been a drastic shift for the Seminoles. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. They knock it out though, so they are gonna hold the Panthers to a field goal. That means with settling for the field goal, Florida State's gonna win it with a touchdown, and Brock Glenn on the first play has enough time to get it over to the sidelines. It's looking good for the Seminoles. Now they're handing this one off, a nice little juke, and all they have to do is make sure they don't get held to 3. They just need a touchdown. I'd imagine it'll be difficult to mess up this 3rd and 1. They definitely have the advantage if they wanted to just run it, but they went for the end zone, and Florida Florida State has survived against Georgia State. Look at that. They're so happy they won. They're starting to heat up. Other teams might want to watch out for them. Who knows if they're going to end up making a deep run. And small schools in Georgia are not having a good time so far. Now South Carolina's up, where there's not many good places that this arrow could point. They got the luckiest option of the three, though. They're headed to Coastal Carolina. And this is much better than having to face Clemson or Georgia. So far, it looks like EA's done a pretty good job with these ratings, though there is one SEC school they completely whiffed on. I'm sure we'll get to it later. And here on their own teal field, Coastal Carolina might not even get one snap off here at the end. They didn't score a single point in this game, losing 19-0. Their offense is way too young, but the South Carolina defense is really good. And that's made it to where, at the moment at least, they control most of South Carolina. After all of that, though, we have only eliminated 10 teams so far, and Hawaii's attacking right off the start. Normally, we just forget about them. This is not good news for me, because I'm probably just going to forget that this piece of land even exists, because they're attacking Arizona, which can't go well. I'm not sure how they're still in 87, though. It really blows my mind. This is even a tight game with a minute and a half left. But Arizona has had a disappointing season, and now their defense is giving up a touchdown on the first play. How do you do that? How do you manage to be so bad whenever you need to clutch up? Their fans are upset, understandably. And if the Wildcats can't get in field goal range, we are going to have another overtime game. It could get even worse than that, though, for Noah Fafita and all of these fans. Because at the moment, it's 2nd and 16. He's going to roll out, and he finds his tight end. He's going to keep on running. So never mind. All of a sudden, the Wildcats look like they're in a pretty good spot. I thought they were going to have to punt it back or something. They're kind of just taking their sweet time now, knowing that they only need another 10 yards to have a field goal, and there it is. Time and time again, we have seen these Power 4 schools clutch up. And that means that Hawaii's unfortunately already been eliminated in Imperialism. It was the Rainbow Warriors' fault, though. They weren't caught off guard with an attack. They were the ones that were the aggressors. They went for Arizona's territory, and they failed. That's just how Imperialism goes. Now we are headed to LSU. And I might just have to go on like a 5-second tangent real quick. I'm using this logo, and they're attacking up to this direction, barely hitting Louisiana Monroe's territory. And the reason I'm not using this logo right here is I just don't think it looks good. Looking at all these older options, I'd rather see 1955, 2007, even 2002. And this is my video, my map, so I'm gonna put the better logo on it. I know this is gonna sound shocking, but there were people on Twitter that were actually upset about that. So to that, I'll say, I don't care. If you haven't noticed, even Louisiana Monroe's logo's not updated on the map because there's so many schools. I'm not gonna get them all perfectly. And it's a logo on a map in a video game. It's not that deep. You'll need to focus on closing this game out because Louisiana Monroe just got it within a possession. I couldn't tell you how this game is even close with the recent roster update. I'm gonna assume the home field advantage. And all it takes for LSU to finish this off is getting a first down. They could close it out right now, or they could risk losing to General Booty. It seems like they want to take that risk. And that's hard for me to even fathom at the moment. Is that General Booty still back there at quarterback? I couldn't tell you, but that pass was not completed. Here on 2nd and 10, he is slinging it, and that is held onto. They're breaking a tackle. What is happening right now? Okay, apparently number 10 is Aiden Armanetto or something. He clearly has an arm with that last throw. And this is not the first time in an Imperialism that LSU would blow it to such a tiny school. Giving up that touchdown, they have plenty of time to respond. And if the Tigers can't come back here, LSU fans are going to hate me even more. It is not my fault y'all have blown a 13-point lead in 2 minutes. Garrett is delivering a dime. And I'm not sure if they're going to beat Texas A&M or not. This is being filmed before then. I would take them as my pick. So my expectation going into this was the Tigers would make a deep run. As they keep on completing passes, it seems like they will. But at the moment, teams are having a very hard time surviving some of these attacks. By the time there's 17 seconds left after getting a first down, they're settling for the field goal, but they missed it. Oh my gosh, they just missed that off the post. You can't make this up. They're losing to Louisiana Monroe. This is the chaos of Imperialism. I don't know how this stuff happens. But pre-update, this kick is going in 99% of the time. Has EA made it to where kickers aren't as consistent with the CPU from like 40 or 50 plus? If so, that's going to make this Imperialism even more chaotic. LSU fans, there you go. You're not going to have to look at your logo anymore. And you know what? Just for my few Warhawk fans that watch these videos, there's your updated logo. I could also go on a rant about Iowa State's logo and how it used to be better as well. But they're no longer in this Imperialism. They've already eliminated themselves. Now we're headed to Ole Miss. And this is an opportunity for another big school to get upset. Off the rip, they're playing in the Egg Bowl, but Mississippi State's had a really rough year. And I'd love to rub in the fact that Kentucky beat Ole Miss this season, but I have no room to talk as a fan right now. I will say, the one good thing about rooting in Kentucky in football is I have zero expectations going into the season. So whenever we inevitably don't play well, like Mississippi State not playing well against Ole Miss in this game, I get to root for pure chaos across the sport. Unfortunately, there was not pure chaos in this matchup. So like expected, we're just going to take the Bulldogs off of the map right here, give all this territory over to Ole Miss. And we have such a long way to go on this map. It doesn't matter though, it can't get any better than recording Imperialism. Alabama almost got landed on. But instead, we're headed over to Appalachian Appalachian State, and hang on a serious note, I think this is the area that was affected by that huge hurricane, so I hope all those people are good. They are attacking Tennessee, but I can assure you, it is far too soon to be making any jokes about that. That hurricane plus the one that hit Tampa like a week or two after was a real wake-up call to how scary and bad they are. And I'm seriously blessed the worst thing that happened to me with the hurricanes was losing power. I really hope anyone affected by them is okay. It seems like Appalachian State has given up though. They're not going for an onside kick here at the end of the game, down by 21 points. So they've just accepted defeat after scoring a touchdown. And I gotta give credit to Dylan Sampson. He's been pretty good. I also forgot to mention, for whatever reason, EA lowered Tennessee's defense down to a 78 overall. And even as a Kentucky fan, I can admit, with the way that they're playing this season, there is no reason that shouldn't be at least like an 88, 89. All I can say is I'm not looking forward to watching Kentucky play against them. And we're headed to sweet home West Virginia. They're going up against Marshall, the same school they refuse to play in real life because they've beaten them every time. But it's still considered a rivalry in game, of course, even though they haven't played since like 2012. You have to wonder if they were just scared of what the Thundering Herd could do to them though, because as this clock takes us under a minute left in this game, they're only trailing by possession and they caught that ball. You have to be a ball connoisseur to hold on to one like that. And with another tough catch, Marshall's catching better than Florida State's receivers, but what was that throw? West Virginia could have very easily just ended this game right there. Now they're going for the end zone. And these are some solid clamps from the West Virginia defense. We'll see if they can do it for 2 more plays. It seems like they went with man to man. There's a fumble. They pick up the ball, and what a way to close it. Their D delivered the hammer right there to force that ball out. And look at this celebration. That is so cool. I haven't seen that before. It's great representation for the Mountaineers though. And I'm just loving how competitive this Imperialism has been across the board. It's not like we've eliminated a lot of teams. Only 15 have left so far. And we'll see what direction FIU's going to be attacking in. Headed down to Miami, they're going to be testing Cam Ward in this defense. But the real struggle teams have versus the Hurricanes is keeping up with them offensively. Everybody scores a lot of points against them, just not enough points to win. And they didn't even need the ACC refs to bail them out of this one. They won on their own. Keeping it real though, they're a very scary team to make a deep run. Because not only are the Hurricanes very, very talented, but they have one of the best starting spots on the map. If you're in the corner, you have a huge advantage over some of these other teams. And I'm just going to assume that Vanderbilt's not going to beat Texas. But as I'm recording this, they've made the top 25, so I take back any trash I've talked about them. Unfortunately, they were clearly better than Kentucky, and now they're trying to get a bigger piece of their state. But this roster update's definitely done them a little bit dirty. They're only an 80 overall, and at the moment, they're only up by 7 points. Middle Tennessee State is trying to send this to OT, but they only have 57 seconds left to make that happen, and they have a good player right there. If they want to win this one, they're going to have to feed the big boy, feed the tight end. And a pass like that doesn't help them much. They've used their final timeout, which could come back to bite them in the butt, though they're completing this one inside the 5. And I want to see Vanderbilt have success. This is their best chance to win. They have 14 seconds to close this out defensively. And I'd imagine if the Blue Raiders get into the end zone, they could go for the 2-point conversion. They're not taking the sack though. Why is he not just running for it? I believe Mr. Nicholas Vadatillo could have made the end zone if he just took off, but maybe he didn't want to risk falling short and it being the end of the game. This time he's got to throw it away though. And that was like a Will Howard way to end the game. Vanderbilt might have gotten met with some resistance there, but they were still able to come out strong. And the next team that's going to try to do the same thing is going to be the Cardinals. They have put out Kentucky before. The arrow is going to point them probably towards them. And we cannot be doing this early in an Imperialism again. I'm not in the mood for this. We now have a 78 overall offense. It just keeps on dropping. But I've clowned on a lot of teams in this video already. So if we lose this game, probably deserved. This would have been a lot more fun if we at least had a chance to score a touchdown and win it all. But no, there was no hope at all. We scored 7 points. Expectations were low though. That's why I always have low expectations. And just like in real life, now that Kentucky's out of the picture, I'm just going to root for as much chaos as possible. I want another Lynn Bowden or Benny Snell type year with them. Just something to make me excited again. But with the current state of all the teams in the SEC, it's hard to imagine them ever being a big dominant football force. At least the playoffs give us a slight chance. We're going to be watching Texas State next. And they're attacking a school named after a food, rice. Definitely an A-tier food though. It sounds so good with some chicken or steak at the moment. And I was going to order myself some if the Owls were able to pull this off, but they're down by 12 points with 40 seconds left. They're taking a sack, and their quarterback just didn't see him coming in from behind right there. EJ Warner thought he was going to be able to scramble, but instead they've wasted all of their timeouts. They're going for the end zone, and it's knocked down. This is Rice's last-ditch effort to stay in Imperialism. They have plenty of time back there to find somebody, and that's the read we're making in that situation. That looked like something Hugh Freeze would have drawn up. With that result, though, Texas State gets to hold on. And in the process of doing so, they have also been able to double their territory size. This wheel is still so full of so many colleges left though. And Ohio definitely has a bunch of them. Akron will be going up north, where they have decided it's a good idea to try and take down Pitt. Right now in real life, the Panthers are beating Syracuse 31-0 in the third quarter. And I had it pulled up on my other monitor watching it as I film, but there's no reason to anymore. Pittsburgh is going to handle Akron in that same way, winning 42-3. I mean, that is a blowout. And it is scary for the college football world. He's only a freshman. Whenever I DM players to help build my team in college football 25 as well, he responded to it. So we are Eli Holstein stans over here on the Bordeaux channel. And that just gives me another team to root for since I can't root for my own favorite one. Old Dominion's up next. All that's relevant about them is their jerseys. So I'll let them wear their baby blues even though they're about to play on the road at Virginia. You all are going to see this matchup is highlighter on highlighter. And with a minute 22 seconds left, it is all tied up at 26. Old Dominion is going down the field though, and this receiver is dusting both of those corners. Being that fast, Isaiah Page is not somebody you want to press. And I'm trying to figure out how to get you all excited to watch this Virginia offense go to work for the next minute. I'm not excited. In the most respectful way possible to Virginia football, you all are a basketball school. And that read sums up how their offense looks half the time. They're going for a bad throw, which makes it 4th and 2. Legendary basketball coach Tony Bennett has retired though, so this is their chance to become a football school. And they've picked up the 4th down to stay alive in this one. Now they're going to take it to midfield. This is actually some prime football right here though. We just got a competitive game. Even though these two teams would never be playing at 1 a.m., it's something you'd turn on at that time and just enjoy it to the max. This is a great run here. But when you don't fight for that extra yard to get the first down, it doesn't help out. They couldn't convert right there, so Old Dominion gets the win. And that was a solid game right there. They just went in on the road and won. That's some prime college football right there, and that's the type of stuff that the SEC and Big Ten want to take away from us just to make some more revenue. I'm not gonna lie, I am worried about where the sport's gonna be in like 3 to 5 years. So I've been enjoying every last second of this season. Rutgers is going on the attack, and they're gonna try their best to knock out Temple right here. We could have another competitive close game on our hands, or we could have a massive blowout on our hands. It's like Icyvert's still controlling the Owls. Not much chaos or anything entertaining going on in that game, but again, the Scarlet Knights have really stepped up their program in the last few years. At least to where they're a bit more competitive. They used to be the Power 5 team to rebuild. They went on a generational run too of like 7 straight seasons being awful. But we'll move past Rutgers. It's Arkansas State's turn to play, and they're attacking Ole Miss. They are swinging hard for their first game in this Imperialism. And not only are they just going to swing and miss, but they're also going to trip over their shoelace in the process and fall over. They didn't score a single point. That was an embarrassment. And I feel like they would have been able to get a better result than that with a Make-A-Wish kid at quarterback. Oh gosh. Sometimes stuff just comes out. Pause on that. Focus on the wheel. We have Southern Miss playing. They're attacking up to the north, and it looks like we're staying on the same place on the map. They're also trying to attack Ole Miss. This is a very bold strategy for all the small schools around the Rebels. And this game has been like watching prime Big Ten West football. It is 10-3 in the 4th quarter. I'm trying my hardest to not mention the Seminoles right now. Southern Miss throws it, and they're going to get out of bounds. So there is still a chance for them. Tate Roadmaker, he did play for Florida State last year. There are ties. He literally has ties to them. How can I not mention the school? I just realized that. Once again, we have to give all the praise in the world to Jordan Travis. He just threw it straight to the Rebels, and they're not going to be able to catch this kid either. Ole Miss has survived at home, but you have to wonder what went wrong with their offense for it to be that bad in the first place. This Imperialism has been all over the place. I'm pretty sure I forgot to show the full US map for like the last 15 rounds. So here's that. Ole Miss is getting a bigger territory in the southeast, but I'm a vet at this stuff. I can't be letting that slide. From here on out, every 5 rounds, you all will get to see the full thing. And Nebraska is up. This is actually an interesting one for me. I guess they're not playing right now since this territory's unclaimed, but anyway, I thought this team was pretty good and Dylan Raiola was exciting until they got their backs blown out by Indiana. I'm kind of convinced at this point the school is just a little bit cursed, and we are headed to USF in the city I live in. I went to the game where they played Miami this season. Now they're trying to beat them at Hard Rock Stadium, so they're basically just asking to be eliminated right now. This honestly just hurts the Hurricanes though, because they're probably going to expand their territory, and the bigger they get, the harder it's going to be to stay in the bottom right corner just hidden. But 59-0. This is the worst we've seen. I could have played quarterback better than whatever USF threw out there. And I feel like we're starting to see a trend of all the orange teams doing pretty well in this Imperialism so far. The only one that's lost so far is Virginia. The wheel is taking us to UCF. So we're staying in the state of Florida and they are headed up north. That means that they're going to have to go into the swamp and take down the Gators. But I'd imagine that that's going to be pretty challenging. I don't know what it is, but they're playing so well with DJ Lagway. And their defense is certainly helping out with that too. Poor FAU is just in the middle of of what's going to be a little bit of chaos. And Miami's hopes of staying hidden in that bottom corner are becoming less and less likely. The wheel has gone away from Florida though, it's headed up to North Carolina, and Charlotte's going on the attack down to South Carolina. They're curious if they can handle the Gamecocks. And to keep it real, I thought they were going to take a pounding, but as the 2-minute warning is hit in this game, South Carolina's only scored 6 points. It's that offense, it's not the defense, though they are going to get a touchdown. And the 2-point conversion is very important where they are going to come up short. Now they have to figure out a way to get the ball back. They're not going for the onside kick because they still have 3 timeouts left. They're just going to trust their defense can hold them. And that's a pretty likely bet to happen. They have a really solid defensive line. They're going to push them out of bounds. And that is the one place you cannot go as a running back in that situation. He's going nowhere here. With a timeout, it's 3rd and long. And Charlotte should try to pass here for the first down, but instead they handed it off. That type of passiveness is probably going to lose them the game because their punter did not have a big leg. South Carolina has it on their side of midfield already. And just handing this ball off, they're prepared to settle for their field goal. Raheem Sanders refuses to go down though, but we have seen in other games that this does not guarantee a field goal for them, so they're trying to get more yards. I can't blame them for that at all. They must have seen how LSU got eliminated. But now that they've dropped 2 passes, they're giving Charlotte a chance to respond back. Here we go. The field goal is up. Is this one actually going to go in? It does. Like I said though, the 49ers do have a chance. They have 40 seconds to get into field goal range themselves, and they might just do it. By the time they get up to the line right here, there's about 20 seconds remaining. And let's see what Max Brown can cook up right here. On 2nd and 10, he throws it on the run, and that is going to be a 50-50 ball. But unfortunately, they couldn't hang on. That would have been the best play in this Imperialism so far. They have to go to the sideline here. You cannot complete this one down the middle. But this has been a rough last couple of plays. I think they're just going to send up the Hail Mary. No, instead they go for the check down. And that wasn't enough to reach the marker, but they did get out of bounds. Was that 4th down? That was actually a decent idea. There was still a second left on the clock right there. That's a better chance than just throwing it up. But in the end, South Carolina does survive, so they're taking over a little bit more territory. The more they surround Clemson, though, the higher chance they're going to have to play their rivals. And I'm just going to have to apologize to Syracuse fans in advance here. They're very lucky, though. They don't have to watch their team play. Kyle McCord can't throw 5 picks if they take free land. And that's just such a wild stat line for what he's done against Pitt tonight. He's been solid the rest of the year. You know Auburn wants to do anything in their power to get him to transfer there after this. And I just realized we haven't had like any games out west. The only 2 have been with Hawaii attacking Arizona and then Colorado attacking Colorado State. Now we have a 3rd one with the Lobos playing their in-state rivals. And they better watch out for the Aggies because I heard they had a really good 1-star receiver. That's a reference to the Road to Glory series I'm doing at the moment on the channel. Let's just say it has been a struggle. And we just can't get away from the tight finishes. There's been so many good games in this Imperialism so far. They are out there in Wildcat to take it in. And New Mexico just got a 4-point lead with a minute left. Here we go. Can they drive down the field in this time span? They're already going to take it to the 45. And there's definitely some hope for the Aggies. Man-to-man coverage on this play is going to stick pretty well though, so their quarterback tried to run. And I have no clue who Parker Awad is. He wasn't the guy throwing the ball to Craig in our Road to Glory, but apparently he's the starter. And it's nice to know that with these updated rosters, EA also focused on the smaller schools. But all of a sudden it is 4th and 7. The game is on the line for Parker Awad. This is his legacy moment. And boy, that was a special one right there. He really clutched up for his team when they needed him the most. And with that loss, his team can now go home and watch the rest of these games from the couch. We're getting closer and closer to a top 100 though. It's coming up soon. And Texas is attacking for the 2nd time. They're headed to the west. So it's going to be up to Texas Tech to defend their home territory. Because Big 12 football is just pure chaos, it's hard to tell if the Red Raiders are actually good or not. But at least for college football 25 purposes, they couldn't keep up with the Longhorns. They let Quinn throw for over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. So all of the orange expansion is going to continue across the United States. It still doesn't take up a large portion of it, but there's a chance it could in the future. And who do we have playing right here? It is going to be Kennesaw State attacking. I've already talked about them getting their first FBS win over Liberty, but unfortunately, now they have to go for number 2 against Georgia Tech. They're the final non-Power 4 team left in the state, but with that 60 overall offense, what did you think was going to happen here? Another team held to 0 points. We've had a ton of those so far, and Kennesaw State's just going to have to make up for that performance in the next Imperialism or something. That's a super tough one to win though. Now we are headed to Georgia Tech, so the team that just defended their territory is now going on the offensive side. They're attacking no one else other than Auburn as well. It just hit their tip, and I really need somebody to explain to me how the Tigers are an 87 overall still. Hugh Freeze literally acts like he is just waiting for Auburn to buy him out. And don't be fooled by this current score. Going into the 4th quarter, it was 30-0. Auburn's trying to pull off the best comeback of all time, and they caught that. It wasn't picked. I have to see if they can do it. That would be incredible. We've seen onside kicks get recovered before. It's a 50-50 ball. And hang on, maybe we just need to let Peyton Thorne cook up a bit. He's not a terrible quarterback whenever he's not throwing the ball straight to the other team. Georgia Tech gets the onside kick though, and that means the Yellow Jackets are going to hold on to get the win on the road. That means we've already seen like 4 or 5 SEC schools losing this Imperialism, and more of them could be coming with this wheel spin, but it's going to Alabama. I guess there is always the chance they lose, even if they're the ones attacking. And at this point, I just feel terrible for Georgia Tech. They're going for the three-peat, but Alabama's up to a 95. And I'd say I'm not sure how their team overall rose with 2 losses, but Ryan Williams got like a +8, so now he is a 90 overall receiver. You know what though? Georgia Tech's put up a really good fight. They got the intelligence here, the smartness here to dissect this defense. Haynes King doesn't get it out though, and just having the better athletes normally wins. I've always wondered though, the players for Georgia Tech, do they have to have like a super good GPA? That would also apply to other academic schools like Vanderbilt or Rice. There's the interception. Alabama is going to get the win, but I wonder if it hinders recruiting. Like certain players, if you have to get a 3.5 GPA, just aren't going to go there. All I'm saying is in the future, I might only go after players with academic prestige for a rebuild. I think it could be interesting, but Alabama did survive. If both them and LSU went out this early, we were so close to having full chaos. But at least it shows they're going to be beatable, especially when they're attacking. And Western Michigan, let's see what you're able to do. Normally, attacking Michigan would be a bold strategy, but they currently don't have an offense. And when you pair that with not being able to steal signs anymore, it could get dicey. All I'm going to say is I saw the vision. The Wolverines offense got nerfed a little bit in this roster update. They made it even worse, but they're able to get a big catch here. And we got to start watching in the final 2 minutes whenever the former national champions could get knocked out. Back-to-back good plays though ties this one up. And as much as I just dogged on the Wolverines, their defense is extremely talented. My expectation is they're going to be able to hold on, get this win right here. All they need is a turnover or a stop because now it's 3rd and 3. Not only do they have the stadium pulse on their side, but a huge talent advantage, and it's a bad throw. If that was on target, that would have been it. Instead though, they have to give the ball back to Michigan, and they're going to be able to receive this one around the 30. They really don't have to get that many yards in the next minute. We'll see if Alex Orji is able to come up clutch for them. Taking the drag is a very good move right here. And we'll see if he feeds it to Donovan Edwards over there on the left side of the field on the sidelines. He did. I just wanted to see it because I remember playing against him. And he's a chill dude. If they hand it off to him, which they do, they're easily settling for a field goal. To do it from this spot though, their kicker must have a ton of range on him. And after running it down to 5 seconds, they have sent him out there to miss it. They have definitely nerfed kickers in this patch. They would literally hit those automatically no matter what. That's going to make this so much better. After one of the worst Hail Mary attempts I've ever seen, Michigan starting OT on offense. And that's a smart little play like there. 5 yards at a time is plenty. They're going to get the first down, but they still got another 14 yards to go. Alex Orji's going to probably scramble here. He is fast enough to run, and he fights to the 2. It should be pretty simple to get in from here, as they do, and Donovan has given them a touchdown lead. It is time to see if Western Michigan can respond back though. They are throwing this one out of bounds, and they've really collapsed in this game. They controlled it for the first 3 quarters, but that is a solid response. They're not out of it yet. I hope they go for the 2-point conversion, keep it interesting, but nope, they think they can outlast Michigan in overtime. I respect the belief in their team, but if you get into the end zone, you have to go for the 2-point conversion on this drive anyway. It's a bold move. We'll see if it pays off for them. Instantly rolling out right here. They did get the ball out in time. It's caught, and they're in Wildcat, which is going to lead to another touchdown or not. It looked like there was a hole there for a second, but they just couldn't punch it in, and this one is really coming down to the wire. No matter the outcome, Western Michigan's earned my respect. That was a terrible 2-point conversion play though, and if they return this, that's trouble. All right, for like the 3rd time in this game, Michigan is going to have to trust their offense to come up clutch, and at the moment it feels like there's a very good chance this all just comes down to 2-point conversions. If the Wolverines get it right here, they can just end it, but if not, they'll be trading them back and forth, and Donovan is going to come up short. This is where it gets super interesting. I still don't prefer this over the old overtime rules, but it's better than what the NFL has, and a missed throw sets up the Broncos for success. If they get in right here, it's all over. Western Michigan is going to get it out, and they make the catch. Michigan goes down in the big house. This is probably their most embarrassing loss here since they lost Appalachian State, and it's probably all because of Malachi Diodoni. He pulled it off. What a performance from the Broncos. I can't remember the last time a MAC school won an Imperialism game in the state of Michigan, and that might actually be a first on the channel. That is so crazy. This Imperialism has been everything I would have hoped for it though, besides Kentucky losing. And we have Arkansas trying to beat Ole Miss just to get inside the top 100. No matter what, another SEC school is about to be eliminated. And even though their roster somehow got updated to an 87 overall, Arkansas is down by 16. After spiking the ball, if they don't score a touchdown on this play right here, they've lost. The only thing they can do is just send it up. And once again, the Rebels have been able to survive. They've been taking it well this this entire time though, they're still able to push through. And this is your official top 100 for the updated rosters Imperialism. Making it this far though is only surviving like 25% of the battle, because there's still 99 other teams that have to be eliminated. Poor Air Force is not in a good spot though. They're attacking Kansas State, and they're the one military school that just hasn't had a good season. It would have been pretty neat if they at least put up a good attempt at their attack on Kansas State, but they didn't. They let DJ Giddens run for 3 touchdowns, so Kansas State is simply just going to take over all of this territory. At least the wheel has avoided Navy and Army so far. It's going to Arizona though, and we've already seen the Wildcats play in one game. Now they're headed to the east, which gives them a shot to take over the entire state of New Mexico. Even though they've had their struggles, it's an 89 offense versus a 66 defense, and I had no idea that this game was even considered a rivalry. Apparently it is though, and they've also played 64 times over the course of these schools' history. I guess that does make sense. The two states border each other, but at least for this game's purposes, if the Lobos don't pick up this 4th and 10, it is all over, and they threw it straight at them. The comeback from that point wasn't likely, but we had to give them a shot, and it does surprise me that Noah Fafita seemed to take a step back. Only 19 points versus New Mexico, and let me tell you, I was excited for this Arizona team going into the year. I'd probably be considered a casual, but I believed in them to win the Big 12, and that's simply not going to happen. Now the wheels landed on Toledo, and they have this rocket sitting outside of their stadium. Even with the rocket though, it's not looking good for them. They're going up against the Buckeyes, so the odds of them making it past this round are so slim. Like expected, they lost this one 27-9, and that means the Buckeyes get to take over all of their territory, which does include the rocket. We have to keep in mind one of the biggest contenders has that in their possession, and the Cardinals have already knocked out my Wildcats. Now they're headed to the west, which Indiana fans might not appreciate. They're actually having to play a real opponent. To be real, I didn't think the Hoosiers were legit until they just demolished Nebraska, and even if their defense should be a little bit higher, their overall now reflects how good they are. They're coming into this one as an 87, but they have a different issue. They're having to use Taven Jackson because Curtis Rourke is currently hurt in real life, so the rosters have updated, but they have to use a backup quarterback. I'm hoping that Curtis Rourke is back soon, but it won't be reflected in this game, and dropping that ball right there really hurts the Hoosiers. It is 3rd and 10, minute left on the clock. This is swatted, but they do still have all 3 of their timeouts. We'll see what they have drawn up right here. Can Taven Jackson pull it off? He can. He's found a receiver, and he is streaking into the end zone. I'm not sure what Louisville's coverage was doing right there. They didn't play like that against Kentucky. And let me put some respect on this rock real quick. I dissed it in one of my first Imperialisms. I didn't understand what it was for, but it's named after a former Indiana football coach that tragically passed away because of brain cancer. I apologize for my mistakes. When I looked it up, it said it was just a piece of limestone. That is a great little way to recognize him though. And in the process of me making it right, or trying to at least, because I just say whatever comes to my mind, Indiana's defense has completely collapsed. Louisville is currently in a decent spot, and they could be trying to avoid overtime, but they're running the ball. This is a really weird move. It's like they're content going to OT, and so much for the AI in this game being more realistic. It's definitely a bit questionable sometimes, still much improved from NCAA Football 14. This field goal is going to hit off the post and go in. So Louisville just got bailed out that they've even made it this far. We've experienced some good overtime already. We're getting more of it. Louisville is going to be on a 3rd down, and if they just continue to keep things on the ground and settle for 3, they might be the most passive team ever. It's hard to root for either of these programs in this game, but Indiana is the better team to cheer for, and I want to see them make the playoffs in real life. If Taven Jackson can even be half decent, I feel like they should be able to get there. But these teams are playing the most boring brand of football right now. At least we're finally getting a throw, and it is going to be caught for the win. That is the 2nd time this receiver has come up clutch for the Hoosiers. Both of his touchdowns are going to win it for him. So of course, Elijah Sarah is going to win player of the game. 4 total touchdowns. What a stud. He is the kid that's going to knock out the Louisville Cardinals. So they will no longer be in this Imperialism, and UAB has been landed on. You don't hear much about programs of their size, but I feel like they want their head coach gone. At least that's what I seem to understand, but if they upset Alabama at Bryant-Denny Stadium, that'll all change. A result like that would truly send this Imperialism into a full-on spiral. But in order for the Blazers to even compete with the Crimson Tide, you have to score more than 7 points. Not a great showing from either offense, but it was expected. And a lot of these SEC schools have expanded far larger than they should for it being this early in Imperialism still. That increases our odds of having a small school winner though. So I am all for that. Now we are headed to Tulsa. And I couldn't tell you what's out there in Tulsa. Probably will never go there in my life. But we might not be talking about them for much longer because they're trying to attack Ole Miss. There's a lot of states I still need to get get to in my life, but I got time. I'm 21. I just gotta find a good reason to visit them. Again though, I think Tulsa's about to be eliminated. Or maybe not. What am I even looking at with less than 2 minutes left? They have the ball up by 10 points, though they're passing it instead of trying to run it here, and they get a touchdown. They're not settling for just a win. They're destroying Ole Miss. But the Rebels responded back so quickly. So we'll see if they can somehow overcome this deficit. It's not happening. I will give them credit though. They are not giving up because they forced a fumble and then ended up scoring another touchdown. So they've given themselves another chance if they recover this onside kick, and Tulsa once again catches it. For a split second there was a chance they blew it, but they're gonna pull off the upset on the road. And they can thank freshman quarterback Kirk Francis for that. I apologize, Kirk. I was not familiar with your game. That was impressive right there. We have Ole Miss getting knocked off by Tulsa. And I feel like the upsets we get in this are always the ones that I least expect. Oklahoma State is another team near Tulsa though, so they could have attacked them, but instead they're going down to play Oklahoma. We got two teams here, one on the left side that has been extremely underwhelming this season, and one on the right side that has also just completely not hit their expectations. But they're battling it out in the Bedlam series to see who is the better future 7-5 team. Truth is though, it's hard to win a game without an offense, and Oklahoma didn't have one in this one. So don't be fooled by that score. It was 31-3 going into the fourth quarter. The Cowboys are a weird team. Sometimes they play super well, other times they look awful, which was definitely true last year as well. I watched UCF drop 50 on them in person while they were ranked. The SEC is getting washed in this Imperialism so far though, and we all know where Jacksonville State was and how surrounded they were. We just watched UAB lose right here, but now they're taking their shot at Alabama. So is this going to be where we see another SEC school get upset? No, the Gamecocks are severely underskilled compared to Alabama. They let Jalen Milroe throw for 5 touchdowns. But like I said, all this early winning might not be good news for some of these schools, especially the Crimson Tide, who are now bordering Vanderbilt. We could be getting a round 2 of that in the future. It's gonna go to Arizona though. I thought it was about to land on the Crimson Tide. They're attacking to the northeast, and they're gonna be trying to get rid of their rivals Arizona State with a big win. It is time for the duel in the desert, and I feel like the Sun Devils overall didn't go up any. It's not affected them in this game though. They have a 7-point lead with under a minute left, and this one's just been an offensive shootout the entire time. It doesn't get much better than this. We'll see if they can tie it up. Noah Fafita's made 0 mistakes in this game. He has almost 400 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. This takes them inside the red zone, and they really don't need that much more here. They're going over to T-Mac, but he was tightly guarded for a reason. They still have plenty of attempts to get in though. This time the Arizona State DB almost got to it, and here we go. This stadium is starting to get loud. 3rd and 10, pride on the line, rivalry on the line, career on the line, and he is going to deliver. Noah Fafita has come up clutch when it matters, and Arizona State fans look so bummed out. I would be too if I was watching this in 100-degree weather and my team just blew it. Now the 2-point conversion for the Wildcats. They don't want to go to overtime. They're being aggressive, and it pays off. Noah Fafita has delivered whenever it matters the most, but hang on. This one is not over yet. Arizona State still has 2 timeouts left. They're only down by a point. They could get in field goal range, though they throw it away, and that was such a costly play. There's still 8 seconds left, so they might be able to pull something off right here. They're getting it to throw out. I bet there's still going to be like a second left. There's a flag, and it's against the Arizona DB. Is that enough to get them into field goal range? What is happening? Someone was just flashing the camera over and over, so it was hard to see the ref, but they are going for the Hail Mary. They were on the 45. You can't kick from there, and this is going to end with it being swatted into a touchdown. What? Arizona State has just won off of that. They swatted it into Tyson's hands. Nah, that is the worst way we've seen a team go out yet. It was so confusing what happened. I thought it was over. Jordan Tyson is clutch. Let's rewatch this replay. I've officially seen it all in this game. I swear, this is what makes Imperialism so good. Just stuff like that happens. He was right there. Right spot, right time. That is the perfect way to end the night here. And there is still so much more football that needs to happen before somebody comes out on top of this Imperialism. It is time to see who will be taking the field next though. And interesting, we're going back out west. It's Nevada attacking, where they're going to try their best to knock out Utah State. Going into this one, these teams are pretty evenly matched. So with a minute left, I'm not surprised it's a close game. Utah State is currently trailing by 3, and they could have thrown a pick there. All they have to do is get in field goal range to send this one to overtime. They're getting closer. And let me tell you, just spectating this right now, I'm feeling like a true American. Clock is running down, but I had a great burger for dinner. I was able to vote for the first time because I won't turn 22 till December. It was my first chance to do it, And let's see what they're going to pull off on 3rd and 2. They're getting the sack. We already have some good football in this Imperialism. They have no time. So that's how this one is going to end. Nevada's able to come out on top. Also, if you're going to ask me, who did I vote for? I could go ahead and give you the answer. I'm voting Ashton Jeanty for the Heisman. And this is the last place things will ever get political. We're here to enjoy college football together. By the looks of it, though, Arizona State is so unlucky because after their miraculous win against Arizona last night, they were landed on, but they get to play UTEP. That could have been way worse than this, though. And if you thought the Sun Devils were even going to let this be a competitive matchup, you would be incorrect. Mr. Sam right here threw for 3 touchdowns. So Arizona State's going to continue getting bigger, and that's going to probably make them the biggest territory in the US. They were probably already there in the first place, but that definitely solidifies it. And now the question will be, how much longer can they hold on to it for? We know Ball State's not one of the better teams in the game, but they did beat Purdue. So I guess we're going to see if they're able to knock out Indiana as well. All I can say is if the Cardinals take over this state, that would be so unexpected. But Indiana not having their starting quarterback's given them some issues. With 44 seconds left, they only have a 3-point lead. If they let them get into field goal range, this is going to give them a bunch of issues, but instead they give up a huge passing play. So not only is there a chance it goes to overtime, there's a chance Ball State just wins it outright. The Hoosiers defense has been really solid though. We'll see if they're able to hang on here in the end zone. If they got a sack, it'd be nice. Instead, they're letting them run it in. And Indiana is not going to have much time to respond to one of the worst teams in this game. Make sure to keep an eye on number 13 though. We have seen him get open in other matchups and they immediately threw it in his direction. Also, that looks like it's Curtis Rourke out there on the field. So maybe he just got injured in the last game that we simmed. And that's why Taven Jackson was in. Either way, neither of those balls were caught. It is 3rd and 10 and Ball State gives it up. So there is still a sliver of hope for the Hoosiers. They seem to be able to just gash this defense, though they can't come down with that. They still have 2 timeouts as well, and the plays seem to be going by quick, but they're just not working. That is why the Cardinals pressing right here is a very bold move, though they do have 2 safeties drop back so they can get over to him. But you never know when they're going to have a right break go their way. This could be the final play of the game. Curtis Rourke has thrown it up to the end zone. No time left on the clock. And it goes down short. For a second there, they might have been able to come away with a catch. But nope, instead we have another Big Ten school losing. At the moment, the odds are not in the favor of teams from the 2 biggest conferences to win this entire thing. But a lot can still change, especially since we're not near a halfway point. Imperialism is a big process. We're here for the long run. And with Louisiana's arrow pointing down to the Gulf of Mexico, they just have to go to Houston. That's the closest team they can attack. The good news for them, though, is Houston's been pretty bad this year, so they're actually the higher overall. And that's left me super surprised about this score. Houston's done a good job at home, but the refs have also helped them a bit. That play was not ruled as a touchdown. The Raging Cajuns only have about 20 seconds left, and I'm not getting excited for that touchdown. They're still down by 8. All of it comes down to this onside kick right here. We've had one recovered in every single Imperialism. It hasn't happened in this one yet, though. So the Cougars have officially survived at home. Also, LSU fans, take notes. This is another Louisiana school I don't have an updated logo for. I just used this one because it's better. It popped up with the PNG on Google, and simply, it's just a logo. Every single time I post the Imperialism map on Twitter, someone complains about it. But their fans probably haven't made it this far in this video. Their team got eliminated early. As for teams that are actually still in this, Eastern Michigan is pointed up towards Central Michigan, but to get there, they have to go through land, which means they're playing Michigan State. And we have a chance right here for even more chaos inside Michigan. It hasn't taken me very long to learn, though, that Eastern is simply not good. So Aiden Chili's is going to get them the big win. I just have a feeling his name isn't actually pronounced in that way, but I don't know any other way to say it. And there's 2 staples you're stuck with if you choose to watch me: bad reads and bad pronunciations. Poor Navy has been picked though. They did get upgraded to an 84, but it was looking like they were going to have to attack until their arrow pointed them towards this little state. I think it's Delaware. I promise I do have a little bit of a brain on me, but anything up in that northeast region's just a wash. And the farthest I've even ever gone up in that direction's probably like Erie, Pennsylvania. That's kind of north up there though. Virginia Tech has been landed on. And do you know how unfortunate this is for Ball State? They're still celebrating their win over the Hoosiers. They have players that don't even know where they're at right now. So I can't blame them for losing this one by so much. They had their moment and the Hokies had to ruin it since they can't beat anybody other than average ACC schools. But you know what? At least they're still in Imperialism. Now we have Boise State getting picked. So it is time for Ashton Jeanty to take the field. Or maybe not. Unfortunately, this does point more north than towards Wyoming, so they're just going to take Montana. And my editor's from there, so you know I'm going to make sure I get that state right. Best editor on YouTube. Since the Broncos could not play though, now we're going to be headed to Stanford. And I think this is the first team from California that's been landed on. They don't have the bestest starts here though. They're pointed up towards Cal. And of all the teams they could have faced, this one's the toughest. It's not like it's impossible for Stanford to win this though, because with about a minute and a half left, they're only trailing by 6, and that's a big play. That mascot just gave me a huge jump scare though, and I never want to see that dude from that angle again. Let's see what they're able to do on this next one. They take the sack. So as they try to spike the ball, a bunch of time is about to run off. There's only 27 seconds, and it is no longer looking like they have a good chance of getting a touchdown here. Ashton Daniels just runs into it. He literally just stopped and let him take him, but they had a final timeout to spare. It is 4th and 28. Stanford could have picked that up though. You gotta respect the way that Cal's D just held it down there though to win this rivalry. I didn't even know that trophy existed. It looks pretty cool though. Also, I wish I could show Cal Stadium, because look at this place. The scenery around it is beautiful. It's the same way as like some of those schools out in Utah, like BYU, and it just looks like a good place to go and spend like a day outside. But what would I know about that? Ever since this game's dropped, I've legitimately spent like a third of my life on it. But you can't flame me for it. You can't call me a nerd for it, because you know what? It's my job. And I know you want more videos. You want more Imperialisms. Old Dominion's playing, by the way. So we're gonna see if they have what it takes to beat Maryland. My guess is probably not. And I was right about that, but it's not like we haven't seen some big upsets. That really doesn't help the Terrapins at all though, because they're in such a small spot. There was a good chance they never got attacked. And their location might not be like a top 5 location in the game, but it is pretty good. Now that I'm thinking about it, literally any team on the coast like USC has a big advantage. At least until they start attacking, they're gonna have to take down Fresno State. It's not the most challenging of matchups, but the Trojans have been very mid. But they heard me talking a little bit of crap, and they handled themselves very well here on the road. If they're scoring 45, my guess is Miller Moss did go off. And now we got even more yellow going on over on this portion on the map. Time will tell if it can last or not. Next up, we have Cal playing again. And this wheel has not been favorable to teams that have already played in a matchup. Just a couple games ago, they were defending. Now they're attacking Nevada. And so much for the West Coast feeling like it had no action. I mean, only one of these teams showed up for this game. It was a blowout. And we have never seen 8 passing touchdowns in Imperialism history before. If the Golden Bears are even able to halfway replicate that success, they're going to be a problem to put out. But they're sharing a huge border with Oregon, and like we know, not everybody enjoys sharing a border. I can't believe how unlucky California teams are though, because the games just keep on coming, and now we have Cal playing for a 3rd time. The wheel is trying everything to just get them taken out of it. But you know what Cal thinks about that? It's not happening unless San Jose State goes to the crib with a touchdown on the first play we've just hopped into. How do you choke? I was trying to hype you boys up. Instead, you just gave that away. And as somebody that was about to hop on the Cal bandwagon, I'm gonna keep my faith in them. They have the ball with 3 timeouts left. All they have to do is get a field goal. But that pass could have gone south. Now they have a free rusher. Their quarterback just drops the ball, but the lineman missed it. 3rd and 21. I mean, I can't believe they just gave them that there, but they're still gonna pick up the first down and a lot more. 83 hit the Jets. They're also using the Ole Miss strategy, which means for whatever reason, they didn't have to use their 2nd timeout, and now they're at the 30. They're not going for the field goal. They want the win. And this is the offense I'm putting my faith behind. They can fly down the field. Their quarterback had 8 passing touchdowns. So after spiking the ball, we're going to see them hand it off to Jade Knott. No, they're going to settle for a field goal. They ran the ball to get their kicker on this hash mark. They're not taking any chances. That's a lot less exciting. But it also means we're about to get a lot more football. The last time we saw this Cal defense on the field, they handed San Jose State a touchdown. But if I had to take any bets, I'm betting that they would hold on strong here. It is already 3rd down, and San Jose State has plenty of time back there actually to find a receiver, but he let it go. He had it. All he had to do was fall down. What's crazy is he's still a better option than what Florida State has at receiver though. And I'm so sorry, I had to sneak another one in. We'll see if Cal is able to respond. Actually, you know what? I'm not sorry, Florida State fans. I'll apologize if you all somehow beat Miami. With how long this takes to film, I'm sure I'll still be filming by the time that one ends. And I gotta lock in right here. It's my commentating moment. Jade Knott out of Wildcat gets stuffed. Extremely anticlimactic, but Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback that threw for 8 touchdowns, is gonna throw this away. At this point in the game, neither of these teams even want to win. I think EA fixed a bug though, because their kicker did not miss the short kick from the hash mark. It almost used to be a guarantee. So I'm still believing there's been a huge adjustment to how the computer kicks on 2nd and 4. Cal is gonna take it inside the 10. But then they've come out in this formation right here. They have their quarterback in Wildcat. Not sure that's really the purpose of it, but who cares? Fernando is a beast back there. He can do whatever he wants, including just missing his receiver. I was on the Cal wave, but if they're gonna play like this, they don't stand a chance winning this Imperialism. And there we go, Jade. Not a little bit of a grown man's catch. The 2-point conversion is a little bit more important though, and I already know the script. I can predict it for you. San Jose State's gonna get a touchdown, but then they're also gonna run a terrible 2-point conversion play. Neither of these teams want to win these games. Never mind, Cal gets the interception. I totally believed in y'all the entire time. You deserve to win there. But I do have to question one thing. I need a good explanation on how that teleported into his hands. I mean, if this happened to me and I lost a game off of that, I'd be so upset. And that's gotta be a bigger bailout than anything Miami's experienced so far this season. Just take a look of all the things that have changed out west over like the last 10 turns though. And surely this is not gonna land on another team out there. No, it goes to Vanderbilt. Now we know that Alabama's on their southern border. They're going in the opposite direction. And that's a little bit of a letdown, but they could still end up playing in the future. Before that can ever happen though, the Commodores have to survive attack in Western Kentucky. And I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do that. At the moment, the Hilltoppers are only down by 2. They're on the 36-yard line. And a field goal wins this game for them. They've done a good job here at home. Their quarterback, Caden Veltkamp, has thrown for 5 touchdowns over 300 yards. But we have no idea how good Western Kentucky's kicker really is. You could assume from here they might be in range, but we've also seen some kickers miss from this distance, so the fact that their tight end is taking it in is a big deal. Yes, they just gave Vanderbilt a slight chance. As good as Diego Pavia is, there's just not enough time left for him. Even though they do still have all 3 of their timeouts saved up. And I take back what I was saying immediately. I keep on having to take it back. What are you doing, Western Kentucky? I would have loved to root for another team from Kentucky, especially besides Louisville. But no, instead they pressed Junior Sherrill. They choked that away in literally one play for no reason at all. By now, I have been fully convinced that in this game, there is not a single lead that's safe. Diego's running this in. And it blows my mind that throwing for 400 yards, 6 touchdowns is not enough to take down the Commodores. That was almost caught. But they're just not able to get the win. Diego Pavia also played pretty well himself though, and that's gonna officially be a wrap for all the football teams in Kentucky. That's also gonna leave us with 80 teams remaining. Cincinnati's been landed on, and we'll see if the Bearcats can do anything better than the Kentucky schools. They're basically in Kentucky anyway. They're right across the Ohio River. And during my first year of college, I actually did statistics at games for both of these teams. Very few people will be familiar with this, but that drive up to Oxford where Miami, Ohio actually plays football at their stadium was in the middle of nowhere. But we gotta give them their chance to try and pull off this comeback with about 30 seconds left. They're just throwing it straight to the Bearcats, and that is going to seal it for Cincinnati. They didn't score that many points, but they did enough to come out on top, and that's exactly how I expected it to unfold. Considering both USF and Kentucky have already been eliminated, I'm pulling for Cincinnati from here on out, and alongside them, any other underdogs that could win the whole thing. Georgia going on the attack should be very scary to teams around them though, and it was inevitable. They are going to be attacking South Carolina. Even though the Bulldogs are up to a 96 overall though, I'm not going to underestimate the Gamecocks, because I think they could compete with Georgia if their offense played even half decent. I just look stupid though, because their defense did not show up to this game. It's their best unit. And considering that Clemson is now surrounded by Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia, that could get very interesting. It doesn't get much worse than being in a spot like the one they're in. But Miami, they just can't escape this wheel even in the corner. Going up, they're going to have to run into Florida Atlantic though before playing the Gators. And this is what I'd consider their last freebie in the area. Finding an offense that can keep up with Cam Ward's going to be challenging. But I feel like he didn't even play that good of a game. They only dropped 31. Either way though, tensions in the southeastern part of the map are a lot stronger than they should be for it being this early on. And if the wheel keeps on landing down there, we're going to have some huge games soon. Let's see it. Are we going to be staying down there? No, we're going back to Cincinnati. And the wheel just loves to go back to teams that have already played. The Hokies are on the spot. They're going to have to defend all this land that they took over. And with a generous 87 overall, they should be okay. I might just have to stop saying I'm rooting for teams though, because it could be a curse. Cincinnati does have a lead with a minute and a half left, but they could blow it. Especially with the field positioning the Hokies have, though Kyron Drones just threw it straight to them and they held on. That was impressive the way he sucked that in with all that contact. But you want that out of your receiver. He might have Gorilla Glue in his gloves or something. Now they're going to drop this. But you really can't blame the tight end. Virginia Tech Stadium is also a sold out crowd. So they've taken the home atmosphere, defending their territory very seriously. Kyron Drones stepping up to scramble is going to be short. 3rd down and 3. The Bearcats need to come up with a stop, but they just left the flat open and they've pushed him back. Forward progress is a thing though, so they still got the 1st down. I wasn't sure what they'd do. And it's not looking too bright for the Bearcats, though they will have time to respond, especially if they get in right now. The 2-point conversion is going to be what's more important, because if Virginia Tech doesn't get in right here, they could lose this game with a field goal. That one just flew on out. So we need this Cincinnati team to clutch up on 1st and 10. They've already gotten a bit. And Brennan Sorsby likes his odds whenever he is 5 wide out there. They only sent 3 rushers in his direction. They're going to probably burn a second timeout. But the ref said no. He got a foot out of bounds, so it stopped the clock for them, which is very helpful. Now they're at the 43. And all of a sudden, the Hokies are in a bad spot as they're going to give up more The ball popped out. There's not a review or anything either. Virginia Tech just clutched that. It's definitely official now. I'm a curse for whatever team I say I'm rooting for. And I don't want to take away from what Kyron Drones has done, but that was such an awful way for Cincinnati to blow that game away. They literally had it in their hands. They couldn't get a stop. They couldn't get a field goal. And what do we got going on in Iowa? Caleb Johnson's been incredible for them. With the way their running back's playing, he's literally saved their offense. And I said I'd try to limit the jokes about them anyway because they had an impressive win in Imperialism once. Their fan base got it far worse than any other fan base on this channel for a while. But now they're thriving, relying on their defense to close this game out for them. And there's a good chance it just goes to overtime. What we've recently learned though is the closer teams get to field goal range, it just increases their chances of choking. So Minnesota's got some work to do. It is 3rd and 5 and they are just sending it, but that's gonna fall out of bounds. That would have been a really good idea if it was on target. Now they have to convert on 4th and 5. Their quarterback sees the only option is to just run, get his team in field goal range. And Max is probably just gonna hand it off from here as they are set on a hash mark. I'm not sure that's the best spot to be in college though. Just because the hash marks are wider than they are in the NFL, their kicker is gonna put this down the middle. So I cannot escape overtime games at this point. Caleb Johnson's not taking that to the crib. He's got 131 rushing yards, which might even be considered low for him. And if there's a 1B to Ashton Jean-T for what he's done this season, it's him. Now I'm not saying they're close, but he does already have over 1,000 yards and 13 touchdowns. But I think he's played in an extra game. Anyway, it is now 3rd and 6 and Cade McNamara completes a pass. It's weird seeing an Iowa offense that moves the ball. But whenever you pair that with a good defense, it's a scary sight for other teams in Imperialism. They have the 92 overall defense to win any game. They just have to make it through this first attack versus the Gophers, and what are they doing? Max Brosmer said he doesn't want to go out without a fight. Darius Taylor takes it in, and I want to see them go for the 2-point conversion here. They're not going to. They're just going to be boring. But it means more football for us, even though we still have so much more football ahead of us. That's a good first run. Darius Taylor was pretty fun to use in the Michigan rebuild. If you all saw that, I got him to transfer in. So it should be no surprise he is in Wildcat here on 2nd and 6. The plan was to let him take over, but now they have to convert on 3rd and 9 and Max can't run for it. It wasn't a terrible idea, but it just didn't work out. But Iowa doesn't have this wrapped up yet. They still need a touchdown. I still have a hard time trusting their offense can clutch up when they need to and get some points. And it's looking like they're about to match Minnesota with the field goal. You can't run out of range though. Cade McNamara, I don't know what you're doing, but he just made this kick way harder than it needs to be. 55-yarder to send it to triple overtime on the line. They're right in front of it. It is going to go in. So I guess we're trading 2-point conversions back and forth. I can't believe we've had this many overtimes. Caleb Johnson just ran through that dude. He was short. Minnesota had him right where they wanted him, and now they're gonna respond, but they're gonna have to get this 2-point conversion too, and they don't. After seeing what Caleb Johnson did on the last run, they should be handing it off to him. He's open. Come on. Even if both of these teams have scored more points in this game, I have seen so many Big Ten West matchups in my lifetime go like this. They just don't make offensive plays whenever they need to. Max is again not getting them in. And I think by now we're in 6th or 7th overtime, another failure. The format is growing on me though. I'd be losing my mind if it was 6th or 7th overtime. Iowa is gonna win it there. They have finally figured out how to get in. But yeah, if that was on the old overtime rules and we hit 6th, 7th overtime and neither team could win, I would have gone crazy. If you saw the NCAA Football 14 Imperialisms though, it did actually happen like that. I think BYU and Utah ended up going to 9th overtime. It was like 80-78. It was literally better than the real life Texas A&M LSU game. SMU has been picked, and the new ACC school has a chance to take over some of Texas. That arrow's pointing them into this mess, but they're getting a team like Sam Houston. But maybe if they're an 80 overall, they shouldn't count them out. Well, the issue for Sam Houston hasn't been their offense, but more so their defense. No matter what happens on this final play, they're trailing by 13, so they can't come back at this point. Their quarterback is trying to have his highlight moment though. He's still running. And Buddy back there thought he was Johnny Manziel for a second. SMU gets the win, which is basically just gonna double the size of the territory that they already had. Nothing too crazy though. It's not like they got this massive expansion. And Nebraska should have to play this time around, especially if it's pointing south. I don't know who's gonna come out on top of this, but I'm assuming it's gonna be at least a decent game. I thought that too before I even realized they've bumped Nebraska up to an 87. But so is Kansas State, so being the home team, I'm a little bit shocked that they're trailing by 8. They only have about a minute to score a touchdown and get the 2-point conversion just to send it to overtime too, though this pass is amazing from Avery Johnson. And the Wildcats are in a prime position to even have the flexibility to hand this off to DJ Giddens. He couldn't quite get into the end zone. Now on 1st and goal, they've decided to throw it. Avery Johnson probably could have scrambled, but that works as well. Very efficient from the Wildcats. I couldn't tell you where that was the rest of this game though. They need the 2-point conversion. they faked me out. And that was a unique play call with the fake toss into a slant. I might need to try to pull that off in a future rebuild, but Nebraska's running it. They're not even trying to get a field goal. I don't understand that logic. They had 3 timeouts left. They took 25 seconds off the clock. But maybe now that they picked up the first down, they're going to go for it, slinging it. They're throwing it to Kansas State, and this means that the Kansas State Wildcats are taking it back to the crib. My brain was about to dysfunction for a second. That threw me off, but I should have expected it. This is how Nebraska loses games. It's typical Nebraska fashion to just collapse. And I feel bad for Cornhusker fans at this point. We'll see if they're able to stay in it with a Hail Mary. That would be such an insane way for this to end. But Dylan didn't even have enough time to get the throw off. So there it is, a lot of extra territory for Kansas State to take over. And just looking at this map, they do have one of the biggest territories. There's just these groups of schools spread across the US that haven't had to play in games though. And I think the wheel has decided we're about to hit that Northeast region. Never mind, I should have known this is always how it goes. That is just gonna point into the open state. So UMass has now been able to take over Vermont. That's the right state. Both them and Alaska are the only 2 states without a Division I football team. And I don't think we visited the northwest portion of the map yet. We always end up seeming to get Washington and Washington State playing though. So the Apple Cup's gonna decide which of these teams stays in Imperialism. Well, with a minute and a half left, the Cougars find themselves down by 6 here on the road, though they're just throwing it straight to Washington. That was the worst way for them to end it. First play we watched, they just turn it over. So much for an exciting finish. The Cougars have been eliminated. I almost feel bad for the poor school. They've had everything taken from them. Their conference, their territory, Cam Ward, you name it. Washington State's probably lost it. Boise State has to play though. And surely this time they'll have to actually take the field instead of taking land. The way that arrow's pointing, they're going for what Wyoming has. And we'll see what the best running back in the game can do. They didn't seem to have any issues against the Cowboys, winning 34-3. But it wasn't Ashton Jeanty that won player of the game. They had a receiver go for like 200 yards. The offense just seems to guarantee huge performances. And just taking a look at the map, it's still out west where all the territories keep on getting bigger. We're also just a few more rounds away from hitting the halfway point, and Michigan State's trapped between 2 Michigan schools. They've decided they don't want to deal with Western right now. They're headed up to Central Michigan, and these teams aren't too far apart. Central Michigan's not scored that many points though, so they need a true miracle with 25 seconds left in this game, and instead they're just gonna give it to the Spartans for like the 3rd time in this one, and they're also gonna let them return it for a touchdown to make the score look even worse. That's just rubbing it in at this point. Michigan State is gonna take over more of the state, but I want to see what happens whenever they have to play against Western. I think that's where things could get interesting. The wheel's been known to give us back-to-back matchups, but it's going to UMass again. And this time around, there's no way there's another free state to take. I guess there are still a couple in the vicinity, but they have to attack UConn. And since neither of these teams were on the revamp mod, we haven't seen much of them in Imperialism. I can't exactly say that we were missing out on much though, because this is not a high-scoring football game, though it is close, which could give us a good ending. Pocahontas is back there at quarterback. I didn't get a good enough look at his name to actually know how to say it, but I want to make sure I get it right. So it is Tayson Famachan. I don't think I can pronounce it. There's 11 letters on it, but I am rooting for him, because if Famachan can pull this off, that would be legendary for UMass. He's going for the big throw, but they get to it. It's all right. You still got a 4th and 5, and you have such a unique name. You have a new fan. Come on, step up. Make the throw, make the play. Nope. To be completely fair, Massachusetts sports teams don't need any more championships. They've already gotten way too many of them, so UMass not being in the running anymore isn't the end of the world. I don't even want the chance that state gets more. Boston College is still in it though, but we're going down to the south because Miami has to play again. There is literally nowhere else for them to go. They have to run up to the swamp, and the Gators have gotten enough of an upgrade to where this could be close. Never mind, I shouldn't have even jinxed it. They doubled their score. So this was not interesting at all. Cam Ward had his way doing whatever he wanted. It also means that the Gators have just missed out on making it into the top 50%, but these teams have. This is what the map looks like at the halfway point of Imperialism. There's a lot of teams that have made it this far though, and they still haven't had to play, so maybe the wheel will force them to do that. Rutgers is headed to the north, and they're attacking Army, so this might be it for the military school. They didn't get the overall bump that Navy did. They're only a 76, and as we speak, I'm watching Notre Dame just demolish Navy in real life. Army has proven though that they can put up a good fight. point. They're only down by 5 with about a minute left. And unfortunately, that was marked as a 3rd and inches. The clock has continued to run and Bryson Daly's going down, which makes it 4th and 10, game on the line for the Black Knights, and that was the read. The Scarlet Knights have survived. They were able to go on the road, pick up the win. And I'm just glad that teams up in this Northeast region seem to actually be playing each other. There's still quite a few that haven't even stepped onto the field once though, and we've already seen Ohio State obliterate Toledo. Now they're attacking this way, which means either them or Pitt isn't making it to the next round. The undefeated Panthers have a tough task in front of them, but with a minute left, their defense has a chance to put this away. They've put themselves in front of the Buckeyes, but they do have to get one final stop. It looks like Will Howard's gonna literally have forever back there to find a receiver, and the Panthers' chances of winning just decreased quite a bit. We'll see if Eli Holstein can respond back though. That's a great throw, and they still have plenty of time to get into field goal range. If they have another good one, they will be. What just happened? It took no time for Ohio State's defense to just collapse right there. This run will set them up, and they're gonna try to take their timeouts, but as long as the Panthers run it 3 times in a row, they can run out the rest of the clock. 3rd and 11, that's exactly what they do. This is the smart move. And here it is, Ohio State being eliminated if this goes in, which it does. They're not used to seeing a kicker that can clutch up and hit a big time kick whenever it's needed. And with a huge potential contender being knocked out right here, that just opens things up even more. This is exactly how this college football season's gone though. Anybody can win. And I'm actually a huge fan of where the sport's at the moment, as long as nothing else changes. It feels super competitive, but we don't need more alignment, more TV deals, because we got small schools like Louisiana Tech. I want to see have a chance at going undefeated and still make the playoffs. Right now, all they're trying to do though is take over what Tulsa has, but at the moment it's not looking too good for them. They're down by 15. They need a lot to go in their favor, like a touchdown right here, but that ball was not held on to. Now it's 2nd and goal, and they're just missing the pass. They have 2 more plays to get into the end zone here. We'll see if anybody can get open. I feel like they should have had someone, but instead they throw it to Tulsa. I guess they did have somebody, and there you have it. We've seen another Louisiana school get knocked out. That's not going to increase the size of Tulsa's territory by very much though, and they've got a ton of schools around them that are going to be thirsting to take it. Now it's been a while since Texas State has had to play in a game, but they're back, and this time they're going to try to take out the Baylor Bears. This opponent was probably best case scenario for them, and they've handled themselves very well on the road. With a 4-point lead, they are in a decent spot right here, though they can't stop the pass. So if Sawyer Robertson wants to dot up this defense, he might just be able to do that. What is their safety doing right there? He let them run right by. He had to have had that receiver going for 80+ yards on Prize Picks or something. Speaking of Prize Picks though, who's also today's video sponsor, there's never been a better time to get the app with football in full force and my sign up bonus. I can get you $50 on there, but if you don't know what it is, you basically just pick on 2 to 6 players and then higher or lower on their projections. I personally like the smaller entries more, but you could go for some bigger payouts too. And they're available in 30+ states, so yours is probably eligible. Anyway, code BOARD or the QR code on screen will get you $50 instantly whenever you play with your first $5+ lineup. And now it's time to get back to college football imperialism. Well, with a minute left, we'll see if Texas State is able to get into field goal range, send this one to OT. And it's not like Jordan McLeod's played bad. He has almost 300 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and also the ability to scramble. He thought about it. He could have aired it out right there, but he saw the gap. He decided to take advantage. And at the moment, it is looking like we're going to get overtime in this game. They're close. We've already had so many matchups like that in this imperialism, and this isn't enough. So the pressure is kind of on. 3rd and 8, the game is on the line, and Jordan McLeod is going up to the line to spike the ball. I guess their coach wanted to discuss one final play, but it doesn't involve throwing the ball. They're attempting a 62-yard field goal, and it has enough on it. It is time to see which of these teams comes out in OT. And here we go, 2nd and 8. They faked the handoff. He pulled it out of him, and instead he's going to find his receiver. The big hit made it hard to catch though. So all of a sudden they're on 3rd and long, and they have plenty of time to go for the touchdown. I have a hard time believing Baylor's going to get knocked out because their offense seems to be playing super well at the moment, and that could have been intercepted. We have seen Jordan McLeod clutch up though already once in this game, so he is about to do that again. And you gotta love the little shove from behind to just put him into the end zone. They're not going to go for the 2-point conversion though. So once again, we have another game that just keeps on going in overtime though. They are slinging the rock. There's no playing it safe here and just handing the ball off. No, they want to get it through the air, and that could have been it. One slightly inaccurate ball from Jordan McLeod ends it, but he's been on the money, and now they're going to let him try to sling it. No, he's scrambling. He wants to get in himself. Massive goal line stand on the line for Baylor, and that's what they're going to get. So they've set themselves up to win this one with a touchdown, though that was shanked. Baylor just got gifted the win. All they have to do is settle for a field goal here. I don't know why they're even throwing the ball. I mean, they are not going away from it. They stay doing it. They they could have turned it over. But that's another way to make sure that Texas State's attack was not successful. There has been so many tight matchups though. I'm sure we got more coming up. And let's see who has a chance of getting knocked out in this next round. Well, it's Syracuse. They have a quarterback that can throw for 5 interceptions. But I think that game was a fluke for Kyle McCord. They're attacking UConn. And once again, it's all playing out perfectly for Boston College. I thought Syracuse was going to win this game though. It wasn't really much of a contest. But instead, they let TJ go for 150 yards. He dominated in the receiving game, getting Connecticut more territory than they have ever had before in Imperialism. So anything can happen at this point. Now we're seeing what Utah can do. And I'm pretty sure they've avoided playing this entire time. They aren't going to be safe forever though. Neither is BYU. And it's a Big 12 game. Literally anything could happen here. I'm definitely not surprised this one's tight. And after holding BYU to a field goal, Utah could win this game with a touchdown on this drive. Isaac Wilson's their quarterback though. So either Cam Rising still hasn't been healthy in real life this year, or he got injured in this game. Neither one would surprise me. He is made of glass. And with how long it's felt like he's been in college, he's probably trying to put like a 30-year-old body out there on the field. But more importantly, back to this game, Utah's still in it. After spiking the ball, they still have 26 seconds left. They also have one timeout, so a big gain here would change everything. And they have used the final timeout. It all comes down to this right here. Can BYU hang on? They are going to knock it out. And that was an extremely close call. He couldn't trap the ball to his chest though. Now they have another attempt. At least the clock stopped for them. But if nothing's open, that was the smart move, and they've done it again. It feels like he's not on the same page as his receivers. But Isaiah Wilson can make up for all of it on this 4th and goal. That was a great motion, but it was still tipped. We have seen the Cougars defense hold on strong. And that's that Cougar power right there. I love Cougars. Another team has fallen. Next up, we're gonna have Texas playing again. And I feel like they've already gotten to expand themselves quite a bit. It is not stopping though. They want to take over more of their state. And now that they're an SEC school, they have to prove that they're too good for the Big 12. For a while, they were kind of cooking TCU, but they've made it close in an effort to come back. And it was always just gonna fall short. They had to overcome too big of a deficit. That's another school that was coasting by without playing though, and then they got eliminated in their first matchup, which could still happen to a lot of the teams that are left on this map. Both the states of Illinois and Oregon haven't been touched once. And I don't think the North Carolina region really has been either. There's nowhere else for NC State to go here. Georgia is the closest, at least pointing in the down direction, but this is a tough matchup. The Wolfpack have caught me completely off guard though, because even though they have not lived up to the expectations their fans had for them this season, their quarterback Grayson McCall is healthy on these updated rosters. They're somehow still an 87 and he gets them all the way inside the 20. I thought this was going to be a blowout. NC State has a real chance to pull this one off on the road. Taking the check down, you got to try to get out of bounds. And instead, they've used their final timeout. This is the same situation as the Utah-BYU game. BYU's defense came up clutch whenever they needed to. Can Georgia's do the same? You would think so. They're one of the best teams in the country. Grayson McCall is going to just put it out of the bag. And come on, you've got to at least try. It should be noted, this is 4th and inches, so they have to pick up at least a little bit to keep their hopes alive. But Georgia just gives up the touchdown. I could not tell you why they went with man-to-man, especially with no other help. They didn't even try to protect the end zone. I don't think there's anything Carson Beck is able to do about it either. I guess we'll see if he can have like a 90-yard play right here. I mean, he's going to have all the time in the world to find a receiver. This is going to lead to the 50. But anything past that was not happening. It's not the Miami Miracle. What NC State has done is not only super surprising, but it's also handled Clemson and Alabama's business for them. So I'm sure they're thankful for that, making their lives a lot easier. Duke is up next though, and they're going to be headed out west, which is all very close to NC State, but it puts them up against the Tar Heels. This might not be the greatest football game, but it has a ton of basketball history. And the Blue Devils simply just didn't even show up to play this one. I'll cut them some slack though. They did lose their head coach and their starting quarterback. But it's also kind of enjoyable for Duke to stink at anything. They've scarred me as a Kentucky fan. Oregon State is up though. And right now, we're literally just getting rivalry after rivalry. It is 100% going to be an uphill battle for the Beavers. But this loss is not at the fault of their offense. They have tried to keep up. Their defense just kept giving up points to the point where they are punting it with a minute left, down by 21, instead of even going for it. That's the worst mentality I've ever seen. It's a real loser one. And down by 21, if I'm a coach, I'm still going to go for it there, even if the odds are so slim. You can't give up on your team. It can't be about player health either. They're out for the rest of Imperialism now. And look what we have. Miami has been picked again. It's like every 5 or 10 rounds, they're going to have to attack somebody new. And this time it's NC State, who's coming off of a huge win. All of their luck must have been used to beat Georgia though, because we just witnessed a splattering. I just don't get it. They even had the home field advantage on their side, but that wasn't even close. Miami is clearly looking like the scary scariest team at the moment. So I'm sure everybody's happy we're going to the other side of the country. UNLV is going to try to take on USC. And of all the Mountain West teams, they're one of the better ones. That's why I'm not too surprised with a minute and a half left, USC is down. And this is the fullest they've had their stadium all season. They have to convert on this 3rd and 12 though. Miller Moss is going to roll out for it. And the pressure's on the UNLV defense. They did a good job against Genty, but not right here. With the extra point, it is going to put USC up by 1. And the Rebels better start putting something together here. They're going to take the drag, but not go far. 3rd and 4, 57 seconds left, 2 timeouts, and plenty of time to get it out for another short game. But at some point, you got to go for some bigger passes than that. They could do that right here. Once again, USC is generating no pressure at all, and they almost got loose. That was so close to being a huge play. If the block just picked up a little bit sooner, it would have been. And being in field goal range, UNLV's already pretty much won this one, but they're going for even more. They're eventually just going to settle for their 3 though, and he missed it. I've watched too many of these. You could just tell it wasn't going to hook enough to go in. That is an all-time way to not be able to just finish a game. But those are the benefits to having the home field advantage and getting attacked. The Trojans should not have survived though. We still have a long way to go, but looking at the map, there's quite a few big territories. And at some point, those schools are going to start attacking each other. Kansas is one of them that stayed in their place the entire time. So they've not had to do anything, and now they're trying to win the Sunflower Showdown. Their overall does not reflect the season they've had. It'd be sweet if they pulled this off. But instead, they find themselves down by 14 with 40 seconds left, and they just threw it straight to them. Maybe Jalen Daniels wasn't who we thought he was going to be. And all that's going to do is make sure that the Wildcats get even more territory. They are surrounded by some pretty decent teams out there, though, and it has been a while since we've thought about Louisiana Monroe. They basically have nowhere else to go besides attacking Tulsa. And even with their 69 overall offense, this is a winnable game. With a minute left, they even have an 8-point lead. But their defense is going to have to hold it down one final time. They still could give up a huge play right here. I mean, they had all the time to make a decision. But clearly nobody was open, and they've run the clock down under 30 seconds setting up for this next one. You would think they would have used that timeout faster, but they didn't, and now on 3rd and 3, they're going with these short routes that don't help them much. That's perfectly fine though if you're a Louisiana Monroe fan. Both of these teams have been impressive, and it all comes down to probably 2 more plays. This is one of them setting up for a closer Hail Mary. Kirk Francis, I know you have the arm to reach the end zone from here. The question is, can you hook up with one of your receivers? And it's not going to happen. This one's going to finish with the tip. And I wonder if Louisiana Monroe is making Alabama sweat over there just like a tad bit. The last time they beat the Crimson Tide, it was Saban's first year there, and the wheel has just avoided Vanderbilt to go to Virginia Tech. The Hokies could have gotten stuck against Tennessee, but instead they're facing Liberty. So we've gotten ourselves an in-state battle here. I figured it was going to be a close one, but Kyron Drones only put up 7 points, and the Liberty defense played the best they have. If they can continue to perform at that level, there's no telling when this run's going to stop. But there are quite a few talented programs that surround them. Clemson is the biggest one this wheel could have landed on though, because we knew they were touching Alabama, Tennessee, and Miami, and the arrow has pointed towards the Hurricanes territory. I will be shocked if this isn't the ACC championship game this year, but something is going on with this Miami roster. Don't let the current score fool you. This has been another dominant performance. I think it was 31-0 at one point, and that incompletion right there is going to do it. Miami came out firing on all cylinders. Cam Ward and Sim in this game is just a perfect pairing, but that is a realistic stat line. He's been putting up numbers like that or even better all season. They've already persevered through so much to keep on winning, and it is time that we revisit Western Michigan. They could do the funniest thing ever. They're also playing the Spartans, and we've never seen one of the MAC schools take over this state in Imperialism before. Just looking at the way Michigan State's handling this clock in the final few seconds though, I think it's gonna happen. They chewed it all the way down. There was a minute, and now they only have about 25 seconds. For as smart as this computer's AI is compared to NCAA Football 14, sometimes it's not, though they're coming away with a huge catch. And burning their second timeout, they have a great chance still. The Western Michigan defense better wake up right here, or else we're gonna have an overtime game. Aiden Chili's is gonna scramble around everybody. What is he doing? He didn't take the touchdown. He literally stopped himself. I've never seen anything like this before. Sports betting is probably ruining sports. He had his line or something. And if I had him over half a rushing touchdown on Prize Picks right now, I'd be losing my mind. The final play though, he completes. So Michigan State is still gonna survive for now. They're scared of overtime versus Western Michigan though. They're going for the 2-point conversion and they're not getting it. The game was even so confused it started to glitch around. And Western Michigan has officially broken college football 25. That's the only explanation for it. They've propelled themselves into the top 50, controlling Michigan. And there's so much that can still change. There's a lot of big territories. It feels like it's so even across the map. I've never seen this before. And Arizona State has a challenge to get through. They're going to be playing against against BYU. There's a lot of stuff at stake here in this Big 12 matchup, and the Sun Devils have done a good job of making this tight, but they need a touchdown in the final minute. It's been a pretty low scoring game as well, so it could be tricky for them to pull that off, though this is a good start. And look at the way that Cougar is strutting. We'll see if he's still doing that after Arizona State gets into the end zone. It's looking like they might all of a sudden. And Sam Leave it, however you say it, throws it away. This time he didn't though. Instead, he tried to fit it in between two dudes. The gap was not large enough. Maybe this time it will be though, and that's gonna get them 3. When you're on a 4th and 7 now, that doesn't really help. But here it is, game on the line, Arizona State's run on the line, and that was the play call. The story of this game was really the Sun Devils receivers getting no separation, and BYU just changed up the map quite a bit. They might have the largest territory. It's either them, Boise State, or Kansas State, but there's a lot of other teams that still have to be eliminated, and if the wheel is gonna land on you like that, it is not good. The way that arrow's going down, it's gonna miss pretty much all these teams, but San Diego State is the closest. So the Cougars are stuck playing back to back. It's really not looking good for them either, because with less than a minute left, they're trailing by 4, though they did get open. We have seen their defense come up clutch, but can their offense do the same thing? That is what everybody's wondering. And so far, it's looking like they can. They've gotten themselves to about the 20, and on the run, they're making a throw for a touchdown. 3 plays, 3 big ones, that's all it took. And they've basically got San Diego State right where they want them. They can lean on their D, though apparently there's a flag on the play and they hit the QB late. Sometimes these rough in the passer calls feel like they're getting out of hand, but it doesn't matter. Fate is on BYU's side. The Aztecs have the timeouts to get the ball back, but it takes 1 first down. And they're stacking the box right now. That's about all they could do, but it's still not enough. Once again, BYU is able to clutch up. And when it comes to doing that, they've been really impressive so far. The more they have to play, though, the more likely that is to change. And East Carolina will be attacking for the first time to the east. With where they're situated, it's not really possible, but I would say Miami's the closest. And from here on out, there's definitely no escaping this. They've taken over so much, they're going to keep being attacked, but they're also dominating in each one. So at least they seem to be taking this pretty well. All they've done is just add on a little extra piece to what they have. And UCLA, one of the final teams in California, is going for their in-city rivals just because of how much land they've taken over. It's the battle for the victory bell. It's a pretty big one. And I'm just having a hard time seeing how USC is going to lose this one by so much. They had the home field advantage, but they have to watch UCLA celebrate on it, and that is just crushing. 38-21, the final score. And I know USC's been pretty mid this season, but UCLA is by far the worst team. So we can write that one off as a little upset and move on to the next round. Vanderbilt, what are you going to do here? Once again, I was hopeful for the Alabama rematch. Instead, they're playing Memphis. And there's another logo I haven't updated because their new one on the helmet is so boring. Ever since making the switch though, their football program seems to play a little bit better. And by now, this has to be the best they've ever done in Imperialism. They have themselves 3 wins. Memphis is a pretty solid team too. I'm surprised they only scored 7. But the wheel loves Texas. We're headed back to see where they attack. And they're still keeping it in state. They're gonna have to go for Baylor. The Bears are a shell of what they even were 3 to 4 years ago. So this is about the result I was expecting. But it would have been a lot more fun if we got even a little bit of chaos out of it. Right now, if you look west of Texas, there's not that many colleges remaining. And I didn't realize how fast it's thinned out over there. Then you have states like Illinois where still nobody's played. And the first team to play is gonna have to go on the road to play at Iowa. There's a lot of little kids watching that are relying on you to keep this one entertaining, Northern Illinois. And that's exactly what's been done. They're still watching up there after the wait. Iowa hasn't played bad offensively either. They have scored 31 points, but they're losing. And they're gonna have to hit a game-winning field goal if they want to survive this one. Just throwing it away was a smart decision. After a bad second down play as well though, it is now 3rd and 10, and this is gonna be swatted down. I can't believe what I'm witnessing. They've thrown 3 straight incompletions. You've got to do something correct here, and they do. The clutch play might just save Iowa's season, their run in Imperialism, especially since Northern Illinois can't do anything to stop the clock. By the time they're handing it off on 3rd down, they've already burned through all of their timeouts. But for whatever reason, Iowa took one with 18 seconds left. At least they hit the kick. They have given the Huskies a small opportunity right here though. If they have a big play, that'd change a lot. But maybe they just wanted to show off their defense could get the final stop. Their territory is just going to continue to expand. They've always been solid in these Imperialisms on the new game. So their fans can be proud of that. Now Illinois gets to play. Back-to-back schools from the state on the attack. This one's headed to the west. And they've got some competition over there in Missouri. The Tigers have gone through so many close games this season. But not this one. At home, they got their score doubled, and it was 28-7 until the final 2 minutes. That means the arch rivalry goes to Illinois. And that was not the way that I imagined that one playing out. Lots of SEC schools keep getting eliminated though. And South Alabama has the chance to do the funniest thing ever. ever. I didn't realize how small the gap would be, but I think that arrow is reaching Crimson Tide territory still. So they could shock the nation with a huge win. They could also put the nation to sleep getting blown out. But that was always the expectation anyway. It was going to be a challenging one. Back to the wheel we go. It is going to take us to Rutgers. And they're in an interesting spot. They're going to be headed down to the south. So if anybody's going to be affected by that, it is Navy. We got the last military school trying to defend their land. And they have a lead, but it's only by 5 points. I was rooting for them against Notre Dame today. They got splattered. I have to root for them right here. And who doesn't love our troops? You're weird if you're not rooting for them. The only way it is even acceptable is if you're a Rutgers fan. Or maybe you're from New Jersey. That is about it. They do complete a pass that gets them to the 40, now the 30. But then they had to spike the ball. So we have Ethan Kaliak-Manis. I don't know how to say his name. That's got to be close though. Completes the pass and he gets them another first. They are out of timeouts though. Still 25 seconds left, slinging it to the end zone. And we got Ethan Kaliak-Manis stepping up or stepping back just to throw this away. 2 more chances though. 3rd and 10. He has so much time back there. The Navy defensive lineman fell on the ground, had enough time to get up. He is still fighting to get in pressure. This is insane. I have never seen a pocket that clean before. And he still couldn't find anybody open. You get that much time back there, you can call your uncle, you can chat with your grandma, but he gets this ball out very fast and they're going to be short. Navy's defense has held on right there. About 2 yards separated the end zone and him. And Blake Horvath is going to get his team into the top 40. At least I think that's where we're at. I had to change the color so Navy would pop out a little bit better here. And they're still chilling. When you zoom out and look at the United States, there's not that many teams that can attack them. About 14 or 15 of the 40 teams left as well have never played. And one of those is Buffalo, but it's always inevitable they'll eventually have to. For the Bulls, they've been directed to attack Pitt. But even Ohio State wasn't able to take this team down. This should not be a shock to anybody. 45-3. And Eli Holstein continues to play well. He's making football in Pittsburgh great again. I'm sure they appreciate all the success they're having. But there is still plenty of time for them to get eliminated. Now, Tulane is super interesting. I don't know if they've ever made it this far. And the reason for that is they were always trapped by LSU, but right now they're not. All they have to do is take down the Warhawks. And we have yet another blowout. They held them to 0 points. I will never understand how they beat LSU. But their fans can be very proud of the run that they made in this Imperialism. They did a great job. And that's way more impressive of a run than coasting your way to the top 10 without playing. Boise State's back looking for action though. They're headed over to the west. And this is pretty much worst case scenario for Oregon. Not only do they have to beat them, but if they do, they have to control one of the largest territories. And with 30 seconds left, it's not looking great for the Broncos. They have to somehow score a touchdown, get the onside kick, and then score another touchdown in this time frame, all with no timeouts remaining. That's just not very feasible to pull off. You gotta spike it. And if you don't score a touchdown on this play very quickly, it is all over. This is how it's ending. Boise State went in there and put up a pretty good effort, but just pretty good doesn't help you take down a team like the Ducks. You have to pretty much play perfectly. They always seem to still be around the deeper we get into Imperialism. And the number of teams out there continues to shrink. Now we have Tennessee. They really haven't had to do too much yet. They're headed to the east. And unfortunately for Liberty, they have to deal with the Volunteers. Their defense is extremely disrespected on this game though, so that could make a difference. But it was really their offense that hasn't performed well. They find themselves needing to go 43 yards in 43 seconds here, trailing by 5. A touchdown's all that it's going to take, and Nico is going to scramble for quite a bit. Nico, Alama Levaliva, something along those lines, back there at quarterback, slings it to Liberty. I will not be taking the time as a Kentucky fan to say his last name. It is so tricky. I've tried before. So we'll stick with Nico. 25 seconds left now. He has Sampson wide open on a wheel route, and Dylan Sampson puts Tennessee up. That was good vision from the freshman to see him there. We'll see if they get the 2-point conversion though. This is important. And that means even if Liberty gets a field goal, we go to OT. They don't have very long to move it down the field though. Salter just takes that. And even though Caden's a pretty good quarterback, that's some terrible decision making. He is going to break the attempt at the sack. But once again, they're picking up like an extra yard. You basically just have to send this ball up and hope for the best. That is exactly what is happening right here. Tennessee has defenders around though, and that was so close to being perfect. There would have been a second remaining to where they could have kicked a field goal. Instead, this is their final attempt. And they just voluntarily stepped out of bounds against the Volunteers. Good job, Nico Iamaleava though, 233 yards. And for my Kentucky rooting interest, the Gators are already out. Louisville is as well, so I just have to wait for Tennessee to do the same. I would rather see anybody other than them win Imperialism. Especially UConn. That would be so cool if they pulled it off. But I gotta take offense to this. They're trying to attack our troops. The Huskies would have America on their side if they played almost anybody else. But that was the path that they chose, and they were not prepared for what the midshipmen would do to them. They let Blake go for 6 touchdowns. He threw for 260 yards as a runner. And I know they mix in the pass more than they used to now, but that is still just diabolical. That's the UConn we've been expecting to see though, and it's working out for Boston College up in the Northeast. They have 2 blank states around them and only 1 team that could even attack. Their location has once again put them in an incredible spot, and poor North Texas here has gotten so unlucky. They're getting attacked by the Longhorns. I still remember them having me out to Denton this year. It was a great place, but I sure would have never expected them to have it this close with Texas. They are only down by 3 points with a minute left on the clock, and they're trying to give it back to them. Chandler Morris is gonna have to chill out and try to take it a bit slower or do this, and you're just not gonna beat the Texas zones deep or short. It's now 4th and 10, so Texas should be able to just wrap this one up right here. They're gonna snag the interception, and they might even take it back for a touchdown, which has been more effective than their offense. I don't understand how it can even be inconsistent when it's this good, but it is in both the video game and real life, which is so confusing. One thing they continue to do though is thrive. We have North Carolina getting picked, and they have only beaten Duke so far, but this time they're gonna have to beat somebody better. There was only one school on that border, and of course it's Miami. So they better show up to this game with a game plan to stop Cam Ward, or they could just let him put up good numbers and not score many themselves, which just means the Hurricanes are getting a little bit more land. It's basically just a guarantee at this point they're going to continue to take over, though that Tennessee border got bigger, Alabama could still play them. And this wheel seems to like landing on them pretty often too. Instead though, they have given us Bowling Green out of the MAC, and if they're attacking upward, that means they're going to try and take down Pitt. The Panthers literally just discarded Buffalo like 5 games ago, but the Falcons took their shot and it's working so far. Right now, Pittsburgh's losing by 4 points. I'm blaming their stadium name. If they never changed it from Heinz Field, this wouldn't happen. That's the real issue at hand at the moment, though they're going to complete a big pass to that left side. Bowling Green thought that they could press one of the Panthers receivers, and now they have a minute to respond back. Stadium Pulse has got to be through the roof just to mess with Connor Bazelak, and he's already not doing the Falcons any favors by taking that sack right there, though that's a good completion. It makes this a 3rd and manageable. Remember, they only have to get a field goal. There's still 40 seconds left in this game, and they're basically there. Of course, we're going to have another overtime one. It's only right at this point, but I am all here for the upset. We'll see how things play out in overtime, but it's looking pretty good for Pittsburgh. They're on defense first. That feels like such a big advantage using the play action. They are going to have plenty of time to find a receiver though, and Connor Bazelak has set his team up nicely, just handing it off where they get a couple more. Terrion Stewart's not a terrible running back either, but the blocks just weren't lining up for him right there. It is 3rd and goal, and Bowling Green is going to be short. In fact, even worse, they dropped the ball, which was hard to see because of the shadows, but they missed that too. This is the most missed field goals we have ever seen in an Imperialism. That's all Pitt has to do, but I'm not sure we can trust them to hit it. You would think they're set up right here, but we have seen kicks missed from this distance, but they can't miss a kick if they eventually just run it in. It took a lot for Pittsburgh to survive against Bowling Green, and the longer this run goes on for, the more that they prove they deserve to still be in it. They just keep on finding ways to win. Northwestern is a team that hasn't had to though, so we'll see if they're capable of doing anything right here. Attacking down towards Illinois, they're going to try to take all of this, but the Fighting Illini are an 85 overall, and with their boost on these updated rosters, they've proven they can lose to Northwestern. I don't understand how their defense has given up 42 points. It's not their offense's fault they're in this spot, or maybe it is. Luke Altmaier has thrown 3 interceptions, and there's always the chance he could be going for number 4. Now that it's 3rd and 10, you have to be willing to be a little bit riskier, or you have to escape the pocket successfully. But there were too many players chasing him down, so it all comes down to this. 4th and 5, he goes to the flat, and there's one tackle that'll seal it. Zachariah Franklin has got to run through that dude right there, break the tackle, and instead he's just sealed that Northwestern is going to get everything they've worked for so far. Those teams that haven't had to play at all are so dangerous, which makes it wild that both Penn State and Notre Dame still haven't had to. They're just waiting for their moment. Florida State's also made it pretty far, but they probably won't go out because instead of playing Alabama or Miami, they're getting Troy. This is probably exactly what the Seminoles were hoping for, but they still have to lean on their defense. They They only have a 7-point lead with a minute left. And there's that strong pass rush they had last season. They're about to get in again. They were so good, and then they've become what they are now. I think that's what's thrown everybody off. We've just all been shocked at how they've underperformed this badly. Another sack. And you have to assume that their coverage downfield is also pretty good. Troy's quarterback feels like he has nowhere to go. He has spent a minute going backwards. This is it right here. 4th down. And that's what it's going to take for Florida State to go on the road and pick up a win. They're playing with some fight though, so I can't even write them off from winning this entire thing. Because anything can happen still, even if they're surrounded by Miami and Alabama. Now, I had to get up super close to be able to tell, but that wheel did land on Wisconsin. So they're going to go for Iowa's territory and see if they can take it over. If anything, this is one that should be pretty good. And like expected, it is. Iowa's struggling down by 5, but they have a minute to score a touchdown still. They're moving the ball. But to even get to this point, they went through their timeouts. So that's just going to make it a little bit more challenging, but as long as they keep having good passes, they'll be fine. I mean, that's back-to-back routes that have caught the ball while also getting open, which is never a guarantee. Here it is though. Cade McNamara with the game on the line hands it off. And do they realize they have no timeouts? That's gotta be the dumbest thing I've ever seen out of the computer. They don't get another snap off. That is how Iowa is gonna lose and be eliminated from Imperialism. I know Caleb Johnson's good, but you can't trust him to run that in. I don't know what the expectation was with that play call, but they did not consider what would happen if he didn't score. That was just a really weird moment and bad decision from Iowa. Penn State though, one of the colleges other teams should be fearing, and they've gotten themselves into a pretty tricky situation. The Panthers have now stayed strong through a ton of games, but sometimes that's just not enough. Right now, Pittsburgh's trailing by 5. They throw it to Penn State, and that's literally the game right there. For how solid Eli Holstein's been, he just ruined their chance at coming back. And I didn't even have enough time to set the mood. He'd already thrown a pick. It was definitely a good run from the Panthers, but it is gonna fall short. And looking at the rest of this map, Boston College, Ohio, Notre Dame, and Texas A&M are the only schools that still haven't played. For still having 28 teams though, I think that's a lot less than usual. And poor Texas A&M, I should have never called them out. With where they're located, it is kinda close, but this is gonna hit Houston's territory before the Longhorns. And the Cougars have been cruising ever since they got their one win. They've even put up a good fight trying to defend their home territory. So with a little more than a minute left on the clock, they find themselves around midfield, and Donovan Smith slings it all the way to the crib. That's not what I was expecting out of the Cougars, but they are putting the pressure on Texas A&M. Colleges should really not be returning kicks in this game. Normally they only get to the 15. And keep in mind, all Texas A&M needs is a field goal, and that'll be enough to send it to OT. Connor Wegman can certainly get them there, especially since they still have 2 timeouts left. They just used their first one. But he's only thrown for a little over 100 yards in this game. I'm not exactly sure what's went wrong. He's looked solid here. The reality of overtime is looking pretty likely though, unless they scored a touchdown. And that's not coming right there. I'm not sure if they even feel like they're in field goal range. They have no choice but to attempt it though, and this one is going to be in the middle, which is really refreshing. We've seen a kicker that's actually clutch. Now here in overtime, Houston has the ball first. They have the first drive, and they are going to have to come away with a touchdown. It's going to do you no good to settle for a field goal. He keeps it with the read option, and Donovan Smith was short. It's not always the clutch offensive plays. Sometimes it's the clutch defensive plays. And all it takes is 25 yards from Connor Wegman to get the win. That's the defense making the difference again, though. He's rolling out into another sack. And what is he thinking? It is now 3rd and 27. You are now so far away from being saved, and there is no way. This is not real. Why are they punting on 4th and 27? They're losing. I can't let it slide. I don't know how you program that into a football game. And that was something that was never broken before this last update. Texas A&M better be investigated immediately for that horrendous decision. And you know what? They don't even deserve to be a part of this imperialism. That was so ridiculous. I have never seen anything like it. And we got an interesting game coming up between these 2 Big Ten teams. I can guarantee the ending won't be as interesting as what we just saw though. Well, it wasn't even interesting at all. Wisconsin won by 27. And that means that Northwestern's attack was basically them just handing over all of their territory. It might be disappointing if you root for them, but you're also probably surprised they made it this far. And Maryland's been avoided for quite a bit now, but that's not lasting any longer. They have been directed up to try and take on Penn State, which means we're getting ourselves back-to-back Big Ten games. This one was not any better though. It was also a blowout. Nick Singleton only had 48 rushing yards, but he had 4 touchdowns. And with this update right here to the map, I can officially say one thing. And do you know know what that is? Have you watched enough Imperialisms to guess that yet? These are the top 25 teams at the end of this. 3 of them have still not played, but that's really not that many. And this is where the map is about to start changing a ton. For example, Washington has nowhere to go. They have to attack Oregon, even though it points up here. And these next 15 to 20 rounds are where the contenders normally really establish themselves or fall. When it comes to Oregon, they're looking legit. They just won by 28. And this is not the competitive balance we'd been having for a lot of Imperialism. I like the close games, the tight ones, the ones that come down to the wire. But I think we're on a streak of 3 blowouts in a row now. And whoever this ends up landing on, do not make it 4. There's a chance they might. It's Notre Dame. They seem to be pretty good. Outside of that fluky loss to Northern Illinois, of course, but they're playing Tennessee. The Volunteers have the home field advantage, but again, 78 overall defense. And it seems like that's made the entire difference in this game. You could say they've scored enough points, but they've given up 35. That is a lot. And I'll never understand why they got this view of the stadium. They found the only obstructed one they could, though they are getting near midfield. And it's about time they used their second timeout. After having a 7-yard completion, though, they had to burn their final timeout. Nico is setting up to scramble right here. What is he doing? That's one of the dumbest things I have ever seen, at least besides what Texas A&M did. And because he threw that away, they took a penalty. It is 3rd and 7, and now he's trying to take a sack. Once again, it seems like the Volunteers have just run out of luck, though they beat the press over on the left side of the field. And is that Squirrel White that is going to go all the way to the crib? What a play from Tennessee. They could go for 2. And it was Brew McCoy, not Squirrel White. I'm not even sure if Squirrel still plays for this roster. He could have been on 2 other teams by now with how the transfer portal works. But Notre Dame hit Tennessee's kicker. Will that cause them to go for 2? No, it won't. They're going to decline the penalty. We are headed to overtime unless somehow Riley Leonard just pulls off the miracle here. His arm is going to take this ball all the way to the 5-yard line. So that was far more impressive than I was thinking. We have not been able to get away from overtimes in this Imperialism, though. We've gotten it again. And that was a very risky throw from Riley Leonard right there. But on this next one, he's going to make up for it just fine. If Notre Dame can't get in 4 plays on the 1, that's an issue. And we'll see if Nico is able to lead this offense to respond back. What was that coverage? I mean, Notre Dame didn't even have a player on it. They were begging them to score, but they're not going for 2. Here we go. Will Tennessee be able to do that again? I don't know if they're going to have somebody so open. And this is about the time where I'd make my normal once a video rant about the shadows. With Tennessee having their alt jerseys on, if you want to look to that other side of the field, you can barely even see a thing. They're keeping it on this one, though, nicely for us. And once again, the same kid catches another touchdown. He can do it with a dude all over him. He can do it wide open. And you might as well throw the ball to Chris Brazil II on the 2-point conversion as well, which they did. They did exactly that. Notre Dame and Riley Leonard have a ton of pressure on them to respond. He is handling the pressure that they sent at him very, very well, though. And just 14 yards away from triple overtime where they'd be trading 2-point conversions back and forth. That ball somehow hit the receiver in the back, but he wasn't able to bring it in. And it is now 3rd and 8. Riley Leonard is going to pretty much get the same look that he had on 1st down, though this time he is just going to step up and run. So Notre Dame is just going to go with a little halfback toss, and that'll do it. This is what it all comes down to, though. The 2-point conversion. Will we be headed to triple overtime? It looks like we will be. It's kind of a lame way for these 2 offenses to end it. But somebody has to win. The defenses just didn't show up. And now they might start to. Tennessee was able to get their stop, but they're not going to punch it in. So now they get to attempt the 2-point conversion first in this overtime, and the toss to Dylan Sampson works. I think both of these teams have proven themselves pretty well. It was a fake toss right here, though, and it's just going to be never ending. Notre Dame with the ball back on this one. We'll see if Riley Leonard scrambles. No, he is going to thread the needle. And how is Tennessee going to respond back to that? They are going to drop it. What a finish. What a game. Notre Dame comes out on top. In Neyland Stadium as well, they are going to be taking away all of this territory from Tennessee. But that could still be a little bit too premature. There's 23 colleges that are still left. And with this arrow pointing down into the Gulf, Houston is the closest one for Tulane to attack. It's a miracle that they're even in this still. And this is why. Tulane just beat them by 24. They lasted a long time, though, including getting a win over Texas A&M for a team that really shouldn't have. So even if they're nothing compared to what they were in the American, their fans can still be happy. We have Penn State playing in another game here, though, and the arrow's been directed down towards West Virginia. If the Mountaineers come out playing well, they could pull off the upset. But no, it was 52-7. I think Penn State's overall boost in this recent update has made them even scarier, and they're just going to go ahead and take a little bit more away from some other teams. Ohio's still in this as well. They have a history in Imperialism, but the The wheel has decided we're going out to Oregon, we're going out west. And since it was pointing like up here, it's not going to lead to an attack. This is the closest territory to that. There's only a couple other white states that are still left on the map. And I'm not sure if Navy can even touch them, but I know they're near some. Well, there it is. They have lucked out. This is pointing over into the Atlantic, but this little one, I think this is Delaware or maybe Rhode Island. I could not tell you. That is what they get to claim instead of playing Boston College. And the Eagles always make it this far in Imperialism. It's incredible. Their location is the biggest cheat code. While now we have Oklahoma State trying to attack Kansas State. The Cowboys really haven't done that much either. And they didn't do much offensively in this game, only scoring 10. I really wish it was more exciting than that. That was just a snooze fest to sit through. And we're basically left with these 20 teams. I feel like a lot of the schools that have won a lot of their games are actually still in it. And that is not always true, so it is nice to see. Things are about to get even more unhinged though. Texas is attacking Kansas State. And if they end up getting that huge spot in the middle, teams are going to have to go through them. For what's on the line here, this is by far the biggest game that we have had yet. And do you know what Kansas State did? They did exactly what their last opponent, Oklahoma State, did. They scored 10 points. We could have had ourselves a thriller, but no, instead that is what we got. And like I said, the Longhorns now separate the eastern and the western sides of the map. It's really not where you want to be located with this many teams left, but those are the cards they've been dealt, and Navy is not going to Boston College. Instead, they're going to have to deal with Penn State on the road, which really stinks. I think this is where their run's going to end. Maybe it isn't though. There's only a minute and a half left and they have a 5-point lead on Penn State, so their defense has to hold it down. That's definitely a possibility though. This is going way better than whenever they played against Notre Dame today. And even if both of them end up having a loss or two, I really want to see an Army or Navy team in the college football playoffs focusing on this game. Penn State just got a huge play, and now Drew Aller is going to hit his flat to help them get another 12. That is some solid pickups. Navy's defense needs to show resistance, but instead they've let Penn State take the lead and flex on them. The 2-point conversion's very crucial though. Navy could win it with a field goal if they got to stop, and we'll see if they can still recover from this. I feel like they do have the talent to do so. It's just going to be tricky. That's a great start. About 15 yards away from field goal range, we're going to see a Navy team in overtime, and they might even be able to reach the end zone, which would be even better. Blake Horvath is going to run out, but luckily he got that ball away. Now it's 2nd and 10. I just hope they don't resort to running the ball. I really would love to see a touchdown here. Him scrambling also works. That's the type of running that's fine, which is still going to give them 45 seconds to make something happen here, and Penn State's giving it up. Navy has bounced back after their defense collapsed, and maybe the Nittany Lions can do it again. Drew Aller's already getting this one out for 20, but they have used their final timeout. It is not looking very good for Penn State trailing by 4 because a field goal does not get them in it. But once again, they're getting big completions. It took them so long to spike the ball though. There's only about 12 seconds left now, and Drew Aller, you can't take the sack. You can't fumble it there. Navy recovers it, and that means the midshipmen have pulled this one off. On the road, all odds were against them, but they somehow did it. And that's an incredible feat. For the first time, they control this entire Northeast area. I guess the only team that's still up there is Boston College. They have to play eventually, and it could be right here since the wheel landed on Navy again. I don't think I can consider this an attack though. If the arrow is pointing up in this direction, Maine is the closer state instead of playing Boston College. So once again, the Eagles have escaped playing, and Texas is getting no help for already being in the middle of the whole mess. They're going to try to attack Tulane, which again is another win that wouldn't put them in a great spot. But if you've made it this far, you have to trust that your team can win out from here. The Longhorns continue to be tested though, because with a minute remaining, they find themselves trailing by 2 points. Now that completion does not help Tulane's case, but their defense could still hang on. Quinn just has a clean pocket right here. He throws it deep, and Isaiah Bond is so fast. It would have been hard for those guys to keep up with him. He is like 98 speed, but it has given the Green Wave a chance to respond back, and they're already threading it up the middle to the 50. That is a really, really good way to open up this drive. We'll see if they can do it again. Their quarterback's deciding he's going to run, and they have timeouts to use, which also saves time. They have 32 seconds as well. We'll see if they can make anything of this. You have got to get out of bounds, and they just need another 37 yards to the right side. He can't catch it. He had the hammer laid into him though. It would have been very hard to catch it. This one is dropped as well, and I can't make an excuse for that. Either one of those plays would have set up Tulane a lot better than where they're at right now, but I'm gonna assume they're just gonna go for the same type of pass, and that means it is now 4th and 10. They get it out quickly, but they get it out to the wrong team. I can't believe Texas was able to survive this attack, but that's exactly what contenders do. The issue though is since they control so much of the United States right now, they're gonna just keep getting attacked. They've added on Alabama to one of the teams that borders them, and the next team that's going to be going on the attack is the Crimson Tide. We will see where this one lands. It is going to the south, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but because it is angled slightly to the left, that that is going to be more near Texas than Florida State. This is definitely far from ideal for either one of these teams. And on the other side of the 2-minute warning, this is one of the biggest plays of the game. It's 4th and inches for the Crimson Tide, but they're able to pick it up. That does put Alabama in a pretty good position. They need a touchdown to go in front, but they're also going to most likely score too quick, so I don't know why they're calling timeouts. I think you have to chew the clock in this situation. They have not done that. They've also thrown an interception, and Jalen Milroe might have just cost the Crimson Tide their chance at winning Imperialism. If the Alabama defense is smart though, they will run commit here and just stop them. But since they already used one of their 3 timeouts, they can take away most of it. As long as Texas just runs the ball on 3rd and 10, they'll be fine. They're trying to pass for it though. Why would you even take that risk? I guess it is going to work out for them, so I can't really question it. But it could have gone south fast, and Texas just keeps on taking over more of this map. They are literally in the middle of it all. So many teams could attack them. And how is Navy getting this unlucky? They have to play. It's against Boston College, so I guess they'd have to take care of them eventually. But since they're the ones attacking, they're the ones going on the road. That really hasn't mattered that much versus the Eagles though, because as we approach this final play, Boston College can't score 14 points on it. Even Navy's defense gets another turnover. They've been spectacular. And I always thought that this team's strong suit was their offense. Either way, they've safely handled the Eagles, who just rode their way to the top without having to do a thing. And they consistently make the top 25s in Imperialism, so it's nice to see them go down. The wheel must just be attracted to Texas and Navy though, because once again, Texas is playing, and this time it's against BYU. If they win this, they're literally about to control half the map. But beating BYU on the road's never going to be simple. Their defense has to lock up for 60 seconds on the dot, and BYU is already trying to beat the cover too. Jake Retzlaff is going to try and continue to dissect this defense, though he breaks a sack. And then the second dude followed up from behind to take him down. They'd also spend a lot of time stopping the clock by spiking it, so now it's 3rd and long. And it all comes down to this right here. 4th and 21. Can BYU stay alive? They're going to break the tackle, but they're going to still be short. That was a good effort from Chase Roberts though. They just couldn't beat Texas. And they're going on quite the run at the moment. They can pretty much go coast to coast in the United States. They just need a little bit more over on the East. But again, that might just make it harder for them to outlast their way to a championship. And we have Notre Dame on the wheel coming up, going to the South. Vanderbilt is in a tough spot right here. They are under attack. But they put up a great fight today against Texas in real life. And this might be the most surprising result I've seen yet. It was never even close. They only scored 14. And if anybody was going to blow anybody out, I thought it would have gone in the other direction. Just so they pop out better as well. Navy's color is back to that Navy. And I might just be dumb. You can say I am, but that's so cool that their name's Navy and one of their colors is Navy. I've never realized it before. I'm not sure how it didn't cross my mind. But there's one thing that's guaranteed on this current map, and that is Texas getting attacked. It's only going to get worse for them too if they win this one. But what choice do they have? They have to keep defending to maintain all the land they took over. DKR is actually kind of silent at the moment though, because with exactly 75 seconds left, Wisconsin wins this game with a touchdown, and they're getting closer. Braden Locke's already thrown 2 interceptions in this game, so he might be due for a third. But as long as he plays it safe, taking his check downs, it's going to be hard to turn it over, and that helps. They have another set of downs right here, and they're going to be able to throw it to the 5-yard line. Here we go. Game on the line. Braden Locke is going to put it out, but they can't catch it. But he still has another 3 attempts. They also have 1 timeout in case they did want to try and run the ball, but Texas was somehow prepared. That means it is 3rd and goal. 2 attempts to beat the Longhorns, and he just got it out in time. But Texas might just start throwing stuff onto the field after this, because their fans aren't happy. They just got hit with a penalty. That's a little controversial right there. I don't think it should have been one. I mean, you got to get in pressure. But there's going to be no excuses for Wisconsin if they lose. They are on the 1-yard line. You can't hand this off though when you don't have any timeouts left. Maybe you take that chance on 3rd or 4th down. And they're coming out in 5 wide, so you know Braden Locke just has to get this out very, very fast. Well, Texas might do it right here. 1 stop is going to win them the game. And you know what they say, the ball does not lie. Was that penalty a fluke? We're about to find out. Braden Locke is going to take a sack. I've seen it all at this point. How did the Badgers not win? They were literally gifted a win by the refs, and they still couldn't do it. I don't think we have seen a takeover like this in Imperialism anytime recently, because with 12 schools left, they're touching all of them besides 2. Ohio is the only team left on the map that hasn't had to play in a game as well. And I couldn't tell you how they've been able to survive for this long. This matchup right here really stinks in my opinion though. It is Navy trying to knock out Western. And these are 2 of our last underdogs. Why do they have to play each other? At least we know no matter who wins this, we're still going to have another small school to root for in this Imperialism. It is close, so there's still no telling who it's going to be. But if I had to take a wild guess, we're probably going to get another overtime one though. That could have been picked. He had his hand all over the ball and everything, but he couldn't get a good enough grip on it. Now it's 2nd and 10. Hayden Wolf gets this one out to his running back, and that'll help them a lot. It makes it a 3rd and manageable. But they did have to burn their final timeout, so we have to keep that in mind as they go for the touchdown. A missed throw might be really costly, because you have to wonder, what do you do on 4th and 1? You run it, but now time's gonna run. I guess they had to do that to survive. But it takes teams so long to spike the ball. We just witnessed Wisconsin coming up short in this same situation, but they don't. And will they go for the 2-point conversion? It would be a super ballsy call, so I understand. But it just means we're gonna have an even more dramatic finish, assuming this final play doesn't work out for Navy. I'd be shocked if it did. And both of these teams have been through so much to get here. It seems like Western Michigan has the first drive in OT, so it's all on Hayden Wolf again to get the touchdown, and that won't be held onto. That guy was too tightly guarded. He wasn't open. And here at Bordeaux Stadium on 3rd and 6, Navy got to the ball. If that was floated a little bit better, it would have been great. But he couldn't drop it in the bucket, and that's probably going to cause the Broncos to lose. All Navy has to do is get a touchdown. They are immediately going for it. But it seems like Blake can't float it over the DB's head either. They were able to tip it, and he is still running hard. That's exactly what you would expect out of him, though. He's been doing that in real life this entire season. And it's seeming like Western Michigan could actually stop Navy. They just have to make the tackle. 3rd and 4 is a very manageable place to get a stop on. Blake, with all the time in the world, though, has decided he is going to run for it again. And that's been the difference maker in this game. Wildcat is what Navy has come out in right here. They're going to have to find a way to hit the open hole, which took them a second, but Navy is going to take down Western Michigan on the road. It makes me sad that this is where their run is going to end, but they can be proud of how far they were able to go. And there's still plenty of other underdogs left on this wheel. At this point, it is just set up for Navy to fail, though, especially since this arrow is going to point at such an angle to where they have to play Miami. I've said it before, but surely this is where Navy's road ends. But I've been wrong before, and I might be wrong again. They've been driving down the field down by 6 with about a minute left on the clock, and they still have 3 timeouts. If they can't take advantage of a situation like this, they don't deserve to win. And to my surprise, they didn't use a timeout to stop the clock. They let time run off before going for the end zone. Now, it wasn't completed. They're stuck on a 4th and 8, but they have done a lot to get to this point. Can they clutch up on 4th and 8 to take down Miami? It is going to be intercepted. They did all of that to throw a pick. That's got to be the closest the Hurricanes have come to losing in this Imperialism as well. Cam Ward probably didn't have that great of a stat line, but he still gets the reward of taking over all this territory Navy worked for, and this map looks Halloween themed at this point. There is so much orange everywhere. SMU has been picked, and unfortunately for them, they are stuck between Texas. There is actually nowhere else that they could even go, but don't sleep on them. They're in the running for the ACC championship. This is why as well the Mustangs are only trailing by 3, and they could very well send this game to overtime just by getting into field goal range, though if they beat them deep for a touchdown, that'd be worse. The Longhorns would really struggle to recover. And it feels like almost every game they've been a part of in this Imperialism has just been a tight battle. This is another one. It's like their 5th in a row. They just gave up a huge play, and that guarantees SMU can send this one to overtime, so they're running the ball. Their defenders keep on having these injury timeouts though, so now SMU's actually trying to throw it, maybe score. And I really hope they take this aggressively instead of just playing passive. With 21 seconds left, you don't have to kick a field goal, though running it is such a weird move, and they might not even have enough time. I actually think SMU just lost that game for no reason at all. They're not going to get up to the line in time. That's like the second team to fumble away a game because of that. And it's starting to look like that no matter what the circumstances, Texas will win. They're one of the only teams that this wheel will even dare land on. And how does this keep on happening? They are so unlucky. Now they're going to try to knock out Colorado. They have to play this one in Boulder. So we'll see if that ends up giving them any issues. Well, Texas finally got the blowout they were looking for, 34-7. So apparently they can win games without it being close. It's starting to look like they literally could play in every final matchup of Imperialism. And let's see if the wheel lands on Texas again. It's going to stop on Cal. They had a pretty good run about midway through, but I haven't heard of them since. And it's about time we get some teams we haven't seen for a bit. Cal is going to try their best to take down UCLA. We have ourselves what will probably be the final rivalry in this. Though I just remembered that both Florida State and Miami are still in this. Florida State is still in this. I'm also pretty sad because Cal is going to lose this game. There's simply no way that they're able to come back down by 14. I'm pretty sure I said I was going to root for them. I just can't remember all the crazy stuff that made me actually do that. I know they had to have won some games super close. Anyway, to even have a chance at beating UCLA on the road, they have to score this next touchdown in 5 seconds. That is just not possible for it to even happen, but they could have caught it. And there it is. UCLA has made the top 7. This feels like such an unbalanced ending to Imperialism. On one side, you have Oregon, Miami, you have Texas, and then on the other you have Florida State, Ohio, UCLA, and Vanderbilt. Now Vanderbilt's the most average of the 7, and they're getting picked, but the rest of them are either really good or really bad. After losing to Texas today though, Vandy's getting another shot at the Longhorns. And don't underestimate the Commodores with how many close games Texas has had. What did I say? Texas is trailing by 8 points with a minute left, and it was only a matter of time. We have seen this coming. They've played in like 15 matches, but using their time out there is such a big deal. They have to get a 2-point conversion with a touchdown to tie it up, and now they're not going to be able to get the ball back, though they ran for a bit. So they're leaning super heavily on whatever 2-point conversion play they have drawn up. I figured they would probably get into the end zone with that much time left in that little space. But this is where Vandy could get their revenge. Quinn is going to have to find somebody here. He does on the run, and Vanderbilt might have blown it. Texas is literally the most clutch team I've ever spectated in an Imperialism. I'm trusting their defense to get like a pick 6 for the win. I have more faith in that happening than Diego Pavia getting his team in field goal range, even with the 3 timeouts that they have left in this. That is a pretty good start right there though. We'll see what they pull out on 2nd and 1. They're going for the sidelines and they get it. Texas is in a really tough spot actually. This might be it for them. They have battled so hard, but they're getting the throw out and that's it. That is really it. Texas is done. I guess we can't lock it in yet since we have seen missed field goals, but that feels like it really is the end of the game for the Longhorns. They've had such a good run. I just don't understand where their defense was on that drive. We'll see if their kicker is able to put this one in, and he does. It was a close call, but it is enough. And talk about what would have happened if that hit the post. The Longhorns could still return this kick, especially if Isaiah Bond's back there, though he isn't. And Vanderbilt has gone into DKR Stadium and knocked off one of the biggest favorites. I guess we really can't doubt them. At the moment, they're going to have the most territory in the United States, though that means they're probably going to have to play a bunch. And somebody tell me how Ohio is still in this, plus Florida State. The Seminoles could literally beat Vanderbilt if this points towards them, but it doesn't. It points down towards Miami. Now, the Seminoles did lose to them today 36-14, but they had their chance here in this game, and their offense just didn't show up. I mean, their defense didn't either. They let them drop 49. And Xavier Restrepo might have the best stat line we've seen out of a receiver this entire Imperialism. I can't act like it's not impressive, though, that this is the Florida State team that made it this far in Imperialism. And here's your current top 5. Vandy has the biggest territory separating everybody. What's so great about these is no matter what, they always play out uniquely. Though it's kind of ironic I'm saying that as the wheel just landed on Ohio. I'm not going to spoil any other Imperialisms, but this is not their first rodeo making it pretty far. And I'm curious if they can keep this any closer than Florida State did. I mean, technically they have. They're only down by 14. But I don't think they're even going to get a final snap off. It was not as close of a game as that final score shows. It was basically just 28-7 the entire time. Cam Ward didn't have to do that much. Damian Martinez got more looks than ever before. And who this wheel lands on in the next few turns is going to be very crucial to deciding who wins it all. The biggest underdogs left are really Vanderbilt and UCLA. But the wheel has landed on Vanderbilt. They've also been directed to play at Hard Rock Stadium. So this is the 3rd game in a row that Miami's going to be defending here. There is just something special about this Commodore team though. And they have got to be playing better than their true overall. They are only down by 7 with about 3 minutes left on the clock. I really thought this was going to be it for them. My expectations going in were not that high. And they have a tough decision on 4th down. I think they should go for it, but you never know what the computer will do. And they've made the smart decision right here. Can Diego Pavia help them pick it up? They are going to convert. Vanderbilt might just surprise everybody and actually win this entire thing. I know they still need a touchdown and that's not going to get them the win, but they just seem to fight through everything. Miami's a team that we have seen dominate in pretty much every single game they've been a part of. So for this one to even be this close with a minute left, it does say a lot, and that is some great after the catch plays. The acceleration there was so clutch. You gotta wonder if they're gonna start running it though, burn through some clock. And we've seen this out of their playbook before. It's the intelligent thing to do. You don't want to give Cam Ward that much time, especially when all they need is a field goal. And I think they still left him way too much. We will see how this plays out, though running it was not my prediction. And why are they playing passive? Miami is so dumb for this. This is almost as bad as not just taking a quarterback kneel versus Georgia Tech last year. They've run the clock down to this to be the final play. I'm so confused. I can't even speak. What do they do? Like, it just makes zero sense. They should be upset. It has given Vanderbilt a shot, though. I think Miami's going to lose this game. Just off of how they ended that 4th quarter, they're going to lose off of fate. It's inevitable whenever you make decisions like that one right there. I just don't get it. You're just wasting one of the best offenses in the country for no reason. I mean, Miami could still just punch this in and then get a defensive stop. But right now, it's looking like they're the ones that are going to get stopped. stopped, and I take that back. I think Vanderbilt goes for the 2-point conversion, though, if they're able to reach the end zone. But we'll see how that plays out. They're slinging it, and they could have caught it. Defenders that are turned around have seemed almost incapable of catching interceptions, but they laid the boom right there, and now it's 4th and 7. Will Vanderbilt be able to pick this up, stay alive? No, they're gonna throw a pick to Miami right after I say they can't catch them. The Bordeaux jinx is gonna carry the Hurricanes on to the top 3. And I have to say, some of the teams that made runs in this video, I'm impressed with what they did. Vanderbilt, Navy, Pittsburgh even, like all of these teams were underdogs. They went far. So even if this championship ends up being Oregon and Miami, we have seen some incredible efforts and it lands on UCLA. That's worst case scenario for them. They'd have to beat both of these teams. And with how this map is set up, guess who's going to be playing again? One thing you can't say about Miami is they don't deserve to be here because they have been able to win a lot of football games, but they've let some of these other teams at the end keep it closer. The fact that UCLA is even here in the first place just blows my mind. But again, we have seen some worser teams make deeper runs, and it really all just depends on who you have to actually play to get here. UCLA could still come back, but Ethan Garbers is going to have to pull off a masterclass. He had plenty of time there, and I'd say it's pretty important that they don't use any of their 3 timeouts left. He was able to get that out. It is now 3rd and 3. 2 more stops would just seal this one for the Hurricanes, but no, they don't have a quarterback spy out there. Why'd he hesitate? I will say, the quarterback's tendencies to run in this game are so bad. They get confused. He has thrown an interception, and I wish they still busted out the turnover chain every so often. That is going to do it for UCLA, though. They are not making the championship, and I'm definitely not going to sit here and act like this is some huge shock. It is exactly what I expected. The most important spin, though, is this one right here, because it determines that Miami is going on the road. And even though the arrow points nowhere near Oregon, there's no other free states for them to claim, so they have to attack the Ducks. The Hurricanes have had the home field advantage for like their last 5 games, but going into this one, that is all changed. With exactly 3 minutes left on the clock, we have ourselves a 5-point game. Miami has the ball even though they're down, and I'm not sure if we've even seen them trailing in this Imperialism before or in a situation like this. The pressure is on right here on 3rd and inches, and they've decided to pass it instead of hand it off, but it worked out for them anyway. We're closely approaching that 2-minute warning, and they might milk this entire drive. Here on 2nd and 5, after the 2-minute warning, they're going to be at midfield, and then on the next play, Cam Ward has enough time to throw it, but he missed. That is a very rare miss from him, and we'll see if he makes that same mistake this time around. Of course he doesn't. I do find it interesting, though, that Miami's the one calling timeouts. They shouldn't be in too big of a hurry to reach the end zone, but they seem to be anyway, and they're going to give Oregon a chance to respond. They do have the lead for the time being, though, and if the Hurricanes get this 2-point conversion, I just know that this game's going to go to overtime. Oregon's going to have a field goal somehow. With how many overtime games we've had in this Imperialism, though, it's just meant to happen. And there's the first completion already. Oregon is at the 40-yard line. There is still plenty of time, and I wonder if they're going to start taking some shots to the end zone. It feels like they need to be a little bit more urgent. Dylan Gabriel, again, is able to find a receiver, but you never know what they're going to do because they just handed it off. That is not what you want to see. I want to see chaos. I want to see them try to go for a touchdown at the end of the 4th, but instead, we're probably going to get like our 10th overtime game of this Imperialism. Dylan Gabriel better have a little bit of urgency here, and I also want to know if this is the Imperialism with the most overtimes ever. Taking that sack means Oregon has to take a timeout, and here we go. We have seen so many kickers not come up clutch. Is Oregon's kicker going to be clutch in this situation? He is. I've been filming this one now for the last 3 days, and my voice is about gone, which is why they don't come out that consistently. But if you've made it this far, if you're excited for this overtime championship ending, I'd really appreciate a like on this video, and also subscribe. I never ask for it. I was gonna say let's hit 500K before the end of 2024, but I'm a realist. It is not happening before that date, and Miami is now stuck on a 3rd and 3. They might just put this ball in the hands of Damian Martinez. No, they hit Oregon with the RPO, and they got just enough. This one might just go on forever. I mean, they're having a slow control drive, and it's really thrown me off compared to what they would actually be doing in real life. Damian Martinez would not have 25 carries. Cam Ward would probably have like 50 passing attempts. I mean, he has all the time in the world to find a receiver, and he's not going to. That might be the stop that wins it all for Oregon. The Hurricanes have no choice but to kick a field goal right here. Do they even make it? They didn't. The worst part is this is not the first time they've lost an Imperialism like that either. They have to force a turnover. And now that it's 3rd down, that's simply not going to happen, though if they fumbled it or threw an interception right here, that would be hilarious. There's also a chance they missed the kick too, because for whatever reason, they struggle to hit from the hash marks, but he drilled it. I really thought he was about to shank that. Oregon Oregon has won Imperialism, and the updated rosters have favored the #1 team in the country more than everybody else. That was a wild ride, but every single time we end up having a blast with it. This is what the final map looks like. And if you want some more Imperialism content, don't you worry, it's coming in the future. Just give me some time and make sure that you're subscribed.